and business property relief's threshold will be increased from £1 million to £2.5 million when it's introduced in April next year. This is an extraordinary U-turn to happen when Parliament isn't sitting. We're getting alleged reactions to this breaking news throughout the show.
But it is actually good news for farmers. Now, the asylum seeker who raped a vulnerable teenager in a shocking and violent attack in a park in Murray has been sentenced to 9 years in jail.
A win for free speech campaigners as police move to end arrests over so-called hate speech under a new common-sense approach. But does this really stop the policing of opinions, or will people still think twice before speaking out?
And have shoppers been misled into buying EU turkeys? Well, supermarkets have been accused of doing so amid a bird flu outbreak.
And Christmas traditions may be the same, but the treats on the table are getting smaller. From chocolate tubs to festive favourites, shrinkflation is biting hard this year.
So, good afternoon, Britain. Thank you so much for your company this afternoon. I really appreciate it. We know, don't we, Christopher, how busy it is at the moment. I mean, rushing around like maniacs out there.
That's right.
I'm not ready. You probably are. You're super organised, it has to be said. But we have got a Christmas gift for farmers this morning, haven't we?
It's unbelievable. So, viewers, listeners might remember in the budget November last year, the government announced plans to cap the tax, the amount you pay, the amount you can claim off your inheritance tax bill if you're a farmer at £1 million, £2 million for spouses, of course. That's now been increased to £2.5 million for a single farmer and £5 million for a couple. This takes a lot of family farms out of this measure. It's a huge boost, I think, for farmers at this really difficult time. The changes are going to come in April. It's a massive good news story for farming.
It really is a massive good news, but the government put farmers through hell over this. We do know that at least one farmer, sadly, took his own life over the stress this was putting on them. So this is good news. It's yet another U-turn from the government, though, and we are discussing this story throughout the show before the breaking.
And what caused it? Because Parliament isn't sitting. There's no more briefings with the PM spokesman, the lobby briefing I might go to until next week. Why now? Why do it under the cover of the beginning of the Christmas break? It is good news for farmers. I think it is bad news for the government's authority. It's the third U-turn I can think of now.
Well, I've got a list here. I'll go through them soon. But let us know what you think about this at gbnews.com/your say and all the stories we're discussing today. And indeed, let's have a chat about Christmas because it is nearly here. All of that after your news headlines with Tatiana Sanchez.
Dawn, thank you. The top stories this afternoon. The government has announced the level of the agricultural and business property relief threshold will be increased from £1 million to £2.5 million when it's introduced in April next year. The NFU President Tom Bradshaw has said the announcement is a huge relief to many and would greatly reduce the tax burden for many family farms. Raising the threshold will significantly reduce the number of farms and businesses owners facing higher inheritance tax bills under it, ensuring that only the largest estates are affected. Environment Secretary Emma Reynolds says the government are making changes today to protect more ordinary family farms.
It's important that as a government we listen to those farmers and businesses who will be affected by changes in policy, and as a result of the announcement that I'm making today, 85% of farming estates who claim agricultural property relief will now pay no inheritance tax, and those farming estates and others who are paying inheritance tax will be subject to a lower liability. But it's right that we continue to make the tax system fairer, and the largest and the wealthiest estates pay their fair share in inheritance tax.
Elsewhere, a former councillor has appeared in court accused of a string of sexual offences against his ex-wife over a 13-year period. 49-year-old Philip Young is charged with 56 offences, including multiple counts of rape and administering a substance with intent to stupefy his former spouse, Joanne Young. Mr Young did not enter a plea in court today. A total of 6 men have been charged with offences against Ms Young, who's waived her legal right to anonymity. Mr Young served as a Conservative councillor on Swindon Borough Council between 2007 and 2010. He was remanded into custody earlier today and is next due to appear at Swindon Crown Court for a hearing in January. An asylum seeker who raped a vulnerable teenager in a shocking and violent attack in a park in Murray has been sentenced to 9 years in jail. Rapwala Ahmadzi from Afghanistan carried out the attack in Cooper Park in Elgin during August last year after approaching the girl and making intimidating remarks. He was earlier convicted of rape and a separate charge of threatening or abusive behaviour. The court heard the victim was unknown to him. Elsewhere, non-crime hate incidents should be scrapped and replaced with a common-sense system, police leaders are set to recommend. The scheme would mean only the most serious incidents are recorded as antisocial behaviour. The recommendation is part of a review by the leaders at the National Police Chiefs Council and College of Policing, which is set to be published next month and given to the Home Secretary. Rather than logging hate incidents on a crime database, the plan would treat them as intelligence reports, with officers given a common-sense checklist. Climate activist Greta Thunberg has been arrested in central London at a demonstration in support of Palestine Action hunger strikes. City of London police said a 22-year-old woman has been arrested for displaying a placard in support of proscribed organisation Palestine Action, contrary to Section 13 of the Terrorism Act 2000. In a video shared by the Prisoners for Palestine protest group, Ms Thunberg can be seen holding a sign reading, "I support the Palestine Action prisoners. I support genocide," at a demonstration outside the central London offices of Aspen Insurance. The group claimed they targeted the company because they provide services to Israeli-linked defence firm Elbit Systems. 2 activists sprayed red paint over the front of the building before police arrived and made arrests. The former Prince Andrew Mountbatten Windsor has had his gun licence revoked following a visit from police at his Windsor home. Andrew, who is a keen huntsman, voluntarily gave up his certificate after discussions with authorities. This marks another setback in a year of troubles for Andrew, who now faces strict supervision if he wants to use or transport his firearms. A 2-year-old boy has died and 5 others have been seriously injured after their car broke down and was hit by another vehicle on the A1 motorway. The collision happened on Saturday evening when a Toyota was hit by another vehicle in a live lane of the A1 northbound. The 5 other passengers were taken to Peterborough City Hospital with serious injuries. A 64-year-old man, the driver of the other vehicle, has been arrested on suspicion of causing death by dangerous driving and released on bail until March. And Russia has intensified its strikes on the southern Ukrainian region of Odessa, causing widespread power cuts and threatening the region's maritime infrastructure. Ukrainian Deputy Prime Minister Alexei Kuleba said Moscow was carrying out systematic attacks on the region. President Volodymyr Zelensky said the repeated attacks were an attempt by Moscow to block Ukraine's access to maritime logistics. Earlier in December, Russian President Vladimir Putin threatened to sever Ukraine's access to the sea as retaliation for drone attacks on tankers of Russia's shadow fleet in the Black Sea. And those are the latest GB News headlines. For now, more news from me in half an hour.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
And here's a quick snapshot of the markets. The pound buying you $1.3508 and €1.1453. The price of gold is £3,321 and 5 pence per ounce, and the FTSE 100 is at 9,880 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. It is nearly 9 minutes past midday, and thank you so much for your company on this very, very busy Tuesday. It's Tuesday?
It still is Tuesday.
I've got no idea what day it is at the moment.
2 sleeps to Christmas.
Yes, indeed, yes.
Now, the government's announced the level of the agricultural and business property relief thresholds will be increased from £1 million to £2.5 million when these caps on IHT relief are introduced for farms in April next year.
Yeah, following the reforms to agricultural and business business property relief announced at the budget in 2024. The government has listened to concerns of the farming community and businesses about the reforms.
Raising the threshold will reduce the number of farms and business owners facing higher inheritance tax bills from around, looking at the detail here, 2,000 estates to 1,000 estates. It will halve the number of farms due to pay this levy in 2026, 2027. That's big news for them.
Yes, indeed. So joining us now is farmer Ollie Harrison. Ollie, thank you very much for joining us. Ollie, good news. Are you celebrating this morning now?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to get too excited because I do know of so many examples of farms that will still struggle by this, but it's definitely a step in the right direction. I'm just so frustrated that it's took 14 months for them to actually admit that they were wrong. And I know it's like, oh, it's another U-turn, it's this, that, and the other. Well, we do need to celebrate it. We do need to see we've got some sensible change coming. You know, it is really, really good news, and it's definitely in the right direction. It won't suit everyone, but it's a really good start. And even those it doesn't suit, it will soften the blow slightly as well.
Ollie, I think we may have a clip of the announcement by Emma Reynolds, the Environment Secretary. We can pull that up very shortly. But it is big news, isn't it? It's unexpected for you and great news for Christmas. Oh,
yeah, 100%. I mean, you know, there's a lot of farmers who are thinking that this will be their last Christmas, sadly, because they've either in poor health or whatever. It doesn't exactly help in some ways because a proper sort of like farm of any sort of scale, shall we say, that's commercially producing a lot of food would probably need the 5 million threshold, and you can get that if it's combined. But if you're a widow or you're not married, then you are still stuck at the 2.5, and it will still affect things. But equally, you know, if you're not married, you might not have a lot of children. I don't know. It's honestly, it is good news. We just think, why have they put us through this? Why could they have not have said, we're listening and we'll pause it until we get it right? Why have they caused all this heartbreak and people to take their lives? That's the frustrating thing. It really is.
Ollie, the government say they have U-turned, because that's what it is, no beating about the bush on this one, U-turned because they've been engaging with the farming community, talking to farmers. That doesn't sound that true, though. I mean, every farmer we've spoken to recently has had no contact at all.
Yeah, no, I don't. You know, even up until a couple of weeks ago, they've said that no, there's no change. We've got it right, and that is exactly how it is. But they obviously knew deep down, you know. So why did they need to lie? Why did they not just say we're looking into it or something like that, and just stopped all this sort of anger and this outrage and you know, this pressure that's been put on farmers after such a difficult year?
Yeah.
It's bonkers.
Well, what do you think changed the government's mind? I know the NFU president met with Keir Starmer, National Farmers Union president met with Keir Starmer maybe last week. I think happened the week before last. Was it discussed then? Was it that when Keir Starmer was pressed last week by MPs on that committee in the House of Commons about, was he aware that some farmers in ill health may try to commit suicide before the changes come in to preserve the value of their estates? What do you think changed their mind?
I mean, Tom from the NFU met with Keir over 12 months ago, and he said, oh, give us 38 hours or 48 hours or something, and nothing happened at all. It was radio silence. And he did go in again after, obviously, we'd have this shocking moment in the not the AFRA committee, what did you call the committee? Sorry.
Yeah, well, it's called the liaison committee. It's a committee of senior MPs. Yeah.
Yeah, which to be fair, the Prime Minister come across is quite callous, really, in the fact that, you know, he didn't look like he was listening at all. Obviously, it was a front, and he has done, and they've thought, right, let's see if we can sort this out. And it is a big start. And had they listened in the very first place and done this then, we wouldn't have had all this drama over the last 12 months. And that's just the annoying thing, really. You know, the work that some people have put in to try and get this sensible option. You know, we've said all along we don't want a U-turn. We'll give you an off-ramp, and we've come up with some policy probably better than what they've just come out with now, which could generate them more and protect even further farms. But they've chosen not to take that route, which is interesting, or stubborn, shall we say? I don't know, but it is good news, you know, and it's definitely going to cheer a lot of farmers up from a difficult year. It's a good end to the year for what we started. It definitely.
Indeed. Ollie, cynics would say that this is less about engaging with the farming community and listening to people and more about it being a deeply unpopular policy with the public, with one eye on elections coming up next year.
Yeah, I mean, where this it'll change the way they're going to vote. I don't know after what they've been put through. People have short memories, but I don't think farmers do, because everything we do is from season to season. So I don't think they could repair the damage. But they've still got time. They could be the saviour of agriculture. The Minette report is out now. Admittedly, it come out on taking the trash out day, which is sad because there's some important stuff in that came out last Thursday. And if they would work with us, but there's not this flow of information.
We have gone to Baroness Batters about her report last week. Came out with 57 recommendations, but she hasn't done a lot of interviews with the press since then. We're trying to get her on. We have got a clip, though, of Emma Reynolds, the Environment Secretary, announcing the change. Will you stay on the line, Ollie, and we'll get your reaction to it? OK, here it is.
So we've listened to farmers and businesses across the country, and we want to protect more family farms and businesses. So we're announcing today that we're increasing the inheritance tax threshold for individuals from £1 million to £2.5 million. So that means a couple with an estate worth up to £5 million will pay no inheritance tax when they pass on their estate to the next generation. It's important that as a government we listen to those farmers and businesses who will be affected by changes in policy, and as a result of the announcement that I'm making today, 85% of farming estates who claim agricultural property relief will now pay no inheritance tax, and those farming estates and others who are paying inheritance tax will be subject to a lower liability. But it's right that we continue to make the tax system fairer, and the largest and the wealthiest estates pay their fair share in inheritance tax. So again, we've been listening very carefully to farmers across the country. It's right that we refine the policy, given that engagement that we've had with farmers and others. And we are making this announcement today because we are going to make an amendment to the finance bill, which is due to come to the House in January. So it's right that we listen to what people are saying to us, to their concerns. That's what I have been doing. That's what the whole of government has been doing. And it's right that we refine the policy in order to make sure that we are protecting more family farms and businesses from inheritance tax. But equally, we're going to make this tax system fairer by making sure that the largest and wealthiest estates pay their fair share.
OK, that's Emma Reynolds, the Environment Secretary. Still with us, Ollie Harrison. Ollie Harrison, as a farmer, your reaction to the government's announcement?
An apology would have been nice, but I don't think we get one of them. They talk of this wealth, and that's what frustrates me. They're tools to grow food to feed your voters. That wealth doesn't exist unless we pack in. And if you keep putting pressure on us, we will pack in. It's probably going to help quite a lot of farms and quite a lot of businesses, but there's still big businesses. When we were in London one day in the same hotel, as a couple, they said, friends of ours have a factory. It's worth 50 million. They employ 5,000 people. The inheritance tax will destroy it. So I think moving 1 to 2.5 won't help them. And this is the thing, these businesses, whether it be a farming business or a normal business, are there providing employment and generating profits to pay taxes, to pay for the NHS. And if you don't get that balance right, the whole thing falls down. Well,
Ollie Harrison, the government says that rather than 2,000 or so estates due to pay this tax from next April, it's now 1,100. Is that not just the richest people who can afford it? So has the government not taken out the smaller, marginal family farms from this tax treatment and made the richest pay the most? Is that not what's happened?
Well, they've just moved the threshold, so the rich ones will get a bit of a break on that 2.5 or 5, depending on if they're married or not. But what's interesting is they've said all along that 85% of farms won't be affected, and that was at 1 million, and now it's 2.5. It's still 85%. So why not admit that they had it wrong in the first place? And have they got it right now? Who do we believe? We do definitely know. I can think of 2 or 3 neighbours that this has took the problem away from now. And if we were to be in London with some action again, you wouldn't get the numbers. And is that why they've done it, just to get rid of some of the numbers of the noise? But I sound like a farmer that's always moaning. It is very, very good news and has sorted a lot of people out. But equally, is there any ambition to invest in a farm, to grow it anymore, to keep it efficient when you basically got this sort of threshold been put in?
Ollie, you don't sound like you're moaning at all. You sound like a farmer that's put under an awful lot of pressure simply for trying to do your job and feed the country. That's quite an important job, one would have thought.
And provide employment. That's
100%.
Don't talk about how many people they employ. That's the other thing.
What do you think was the turning point? I mean, we may have this clip of Keir Starmer being grilled by MPs, and we'll play it now, Ollie. Just look at this. Look at this question and answer with the PM just last week, and let's get your thoughts on that.
Is the Prime Minister aware that some farmers who have terminal diagnosis now are actively planning to expedite their own deaths so they hit before April? Is he aware of that?
I've had discussions with a number of individuals who've drawn all manner of things to my attention.
Now, that was a difficult conversation to have with anybody. Will your policies lead to people killing themselves, was the question. Ollie, your thoughts on that? Was that the moment when the PM woke up to the effect of this change next April?
I mean, later on in that conversation, he said it was a necessary consequence, which was just an horrendous thing to say, and that did not go down well. No. I think they need to have a bit of a sense check and actually start listening. Where's all this noise coming from, and why, and what's how it got wrong, and can we start improving it? This is obviously a massive step in the right direction. Will they listen to us on other things? Because don't forget, we've had our SFI taken off us, which is Sustainable Farm Incentive. Supposed to be a new bit of that coming out. That still hasn't arrived yet. There is so much things going on. We seem to think that we can just import everything we need, but really we know it costs more, and that's money for the economy. There's so much more to do, and I don't want to say that it's all over and that's that. Though it'd be nice to be in that position, we still don't believe any business should pay inheritance tax. That's the thing. That's where I'm at anyway.
OK. Ollie, thank you so much for joining. That's Farmer Ollie Harwood. And a very Merry Christmas to you and yours. Thank you so much, Ollie.
Thanks, Ollie, there. This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. More on this extraordinary inheritance tax U-turn, a Christmas present for farmers days before Christmas.
Yeah, an apology also would have been nice, though, for what they've put. People that are putting our Christmas dinners on our table. And
we have a Labour politician on next to tell us what's going on with this government. All of that and more to come. It's nearly Christmas time. You're on GB News. We are, of course, Britain's #1 news channel. Stay tuned.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Cute. You got a birthday present for Eamon.
What do you mean so cute? It's wrapped in Tottenham Hotspur paper.
That's what's so cute. I bet you love that.
There you go. Look at that. It's in Tottenham Hotspur paper. Would you like it now?
Yeah.
Come on.
Open it now.
Come on, birthday boy.
I can't possibly
Happy birthday.
I can't possibly see what you could have bought me from the Tottenham Hotspur shop that would be of any interest. Oh, it's this to do with Big Pat.
What? Listen, don't get overexcited. That's all I can say.
Well, the paper aside,
apart from the paper.
Oh, an SPV vehicle.
There it is.
Absolutely incredible.
A what?
That's from Captain Scarlet.
Do.
Oh,
yeah.
no. You did say you wanted toys.
That is joyous, Paul. Thank you very much indeed,
Happy
my
birthday.
friend.
Are you going to keep it in the box, or are you going to play with it? I'll have to get another one.
What if I take it out and put it back in the box?
Yeah, I think we'll be all right.
I've never had one this size before.
How big was the other one you had then? Was it smaller?
About the size of the box.
Oh, right, OK, nice.
Yeah, this is very cute. Very, very good.
What is it?
It's a Corgi SPV vehicle. It's from Captain Scarlet. Special Patrol vehicle.
Oh, a special patrol vehicle.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
When you were a kid, when I was
Come on,
10
Ellie.
years
It's an
old,
SPV. It's a special
What
patrol
is an SPV?
vehicle.
Oh, lovely. I'm so pleased that you're happy.
That's
well done,
actually
Quitty.
quite tasteful paper.
It's not bad, is it? Do you not want the paper? Do you not want to keep the Spurs paper as a souvenir?
You've also got a little Spurs card here. You see that?
Yeah.
And it says, Eamon, happy birthday from Paul. You've got the nicest handwriting in the world.
Oh, really? Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's like a celebrity's handwriting. Well, you are a celeb.
Oh, now, please. It's not my birthday, everyone.
Anyway, happy birthday.
Anyway, happy birthday.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It is 25 minutes past midday. Thank you so much for your company. We've got great breaking news for you today. The government have made a U-turn, another major U-turn. I think we're up to about 7 or 8 now on some of their major policies. With farmers, OK, so the inheritance tax threshold has been raised from 1.5 to 2.5, is it?
From 1 million to 2.5 million for individuals.
2.5 million, OK.
For a couple, 2.5 to 5.
OK, so luckily, thankfully, we've got a political expert on hand today. Because the one question I need to ask you, Christopher Hope, is how usual is it for the government to sneak a major announcement out like this 2 days before Christmas?
It's highly unusual. I'm looking at the newspapers here. There's nothing in any of these papers about this. Normally, this stuff is this kind of major moment the government wants to get credit for. They brief it to a newspaper, they announce it. Normally, they announce it in Parliament. None of that has happened this time. They've just put out Emma Reynolds, who's the Environment Secretary, in an interview to all broadcasters. We played out in the last half an hour.
I have to say, it looked like a hostage video to me, to be honest with you.
Yes, well, it's not always easy being on TV like you, Dawn. It can be, for other people, it's less easy, but...
Blink if you need help, Emma.
She did her best, but... I mean, this is significant. The government keeps spending money and then not spending money. For example, they removed the winter fuel allowance from.
Oh yeah, I mean this is huge. I mean,
10
benefit cuts.
Millions of pensioners. Then they reversed that. They wanted to cut the benefits bill by $5 billion. They reversed that in the face of their own backbenchers, and now the family farm tax.
So, Christopher, the thing is, right? They could have got good publicity. They could. I mean, this is a very, very unpopular policy. We've covered it enormously on GB News. Spoken to many farmers. It's a very unpopular policy. So by doing what they normally do and leaking it to a favourite newspaper, they could have actually won themselves some kudos on this, but they haven't.
They've got zero... Well, they're getting credit from us on the channel. We're talking about it, but how you might normally do it in normal times. But there we are. It is extraordinarily good news for family farms. There is an issue here, though. How are we going to cover this black hole in the budget? She's ripped up part of her budget 2 days before Christmas. What's going to happen next? Will they increase borrowing to fill it? Will they cut spending elsewhere? Will they increase... Is the economy growing in a way we don't know it's growing and they can afford to? We don't know the answer because guess what? The Rachel Reeves isn't making the announcement. Now, I find it fascinating.
Yes.
They've wheeled out Emma Reynolds, who is a little-known Environment Secretary. Where's Rachel Reeves? This is a key part of her budget, a part that she fought so hard to maintain, and she's not here. Somebody who might know where she is Terry Jeremy, who's the MP for South West Norfolk. Mr Jeremy, thank you for coming on to GB News today. Where is your Chancellor? Why is she not announcing changes to her budget?
I think the key thing for me is actually the decision is here and we need to get it out as quickly as we can. I'm really pleased that the government is focused on making the right decision rather than focused on getting political kudos for it.
Yeah, but, I mean, Terry, this is a deeply unpopular decision, obviously. It always has been. We heard from a farmer just now who said that at the very least they needed an apology to go with this as well. I put it to you that this is less about caring what farmers think and feel, and some even contemplating taking their own lives, and more about winning back the public.
I think actually the government has proven that it listens. I mean, governments don't like to change major policies, particularly policies around tax. And actually, there's always a reluctance to do that. But on this occasion, the government has listened. And in my view, they've come to the right decision. This will help hundreds of farmers across the country by removing them completely from the inheritance tax threshold. That is a very welcome relief, and actually coming before Christmas, I think, is really important. I don't want people panicking and worrying over the Christmas break, and actually the government's arrived at the right place.
There's no question, Terry Jeremy, it is extraordinarily good news for hundreds of farmers who are facing this issue next April. When were you told about it?
I found out this morning. Obviously, it's something that we as Labour MPs, particularly those from rural communities, we've spent the whole of the last year campaigning on this issue. I fully understand the concerns. I mean, I've got a lot of farms in my constituency. We're a very rural area. We've had lots of conversations about this. Yes, it's come today, but I'm just particularly pleased that, we've arrived at this decision.
So, Terry, what were farmers in your constituency? You say West Norfolk, I mean, huge farming community. What were they saying to you about this?
I think there's a number of different challenges. I mean, APR has been abused. There are people that have taken advantage of the 0% inheritance tax and abused the situation. And in West Norfolk in particular, that has meant that land prices have been increasing, but the profitability of farming is still as poor as ever, and that has been a real challenge. And one of the reasons I think so many farms were caught up in this, because they're not making any more profit, but their value, theoretical value, has been increasing. So that has been a huge concern. They've been caught up in this through no fault of their own. I was listening to Ollie earlier. There are lots of different challenges for the farming community, whether that's the availability of water, particularly for us in Norfolk, or the cost of producing the food. And this was one more issue, and I'm glad that we're able to resolve this issue. And I very much hope in the new year as a government,
Terry Jeremy,
with the matters review, we can move on.
Of course we move on, but there are still issues there for larger farms. And of course, it's great news. It really is fantastic news for farmers. But why announce it now? Why announce it when Parliament isn't sitting, when Westminster is deserted? It looks like a panic move. Why not do it with a statement to MPs? Why not do a proper briefing about it, explain how it works? Why do it now? Why is your government panicking about farmers, it seems, days before Christmas?
I think there's been a number of conversations. I mean, obviously, the official line has always been that this is the policy and we'll stick to it. But there have been frantic conversations over the whole of the last 12 months, particularly the last few weeks. And obviously, you referenced earlier the Prime Minister at the Liaison Committee. There have been lots of conversations. We've obviously only just had the vote in Parliament for the finance bill. And I think that's all sort of boiled together and why we've got to this decision today.
OK, Terry, can I just ask you, I mean, a Labour MP at the beginning of December was suspended from the party for voting against the Chancellor's family farm tax. Can I ask whether you voted against it?
No, I abstained. I was very clear with my farmers and they understood I can achieve far more for them as a Labour MP with a Labour government. If my vote would have made a difference, I may have voted in a different way, but myself and about 30 rural Labour MPs were really clear that we did not support this policy, and that is obviously part of the reason why the government's made the decision it's made today.
Did you want the MP Marcus Campbell-Sabers to be reinstated? We've seen it before. We saw before with the two-child benefit cap last year when I think 6 or 7 Labour MPs were suspended for voting for that to be lifted. That happened, didn't it, in the budget? Now we've got Marcus Campbell-Sabers, this MP who had his whip suspended, and then the government does what he wants anyway. Should he get the whip back?
Marcus is a brilliant MP. I know him well. He's a really strong advocate for his community. I very much hope that he will come back into the Labour Party and will be readmitted as a Labour MP. We are better when we have voices like Marcus within the party.
OK, Terry, finally, one question for you. I mean, we've spoken to many farmers on GBNews. Their mental health has suffered. We do know of at least one that was so terrified by this that they did incredibly sadly take their own life. Do you think the government owes an apology to farming?
I think they need to look at the process that's led up to this decision and about how we form policy. I think it's always been a frustration that actually this is having a huge impact on individual farmers and their mental health, particularly as you've referenced. And I think we need to properly look at how we form policy and make big decisions because actually, for the grand scheme of things, this is a relatively small amount of money for the government, but a huge disproportionate impact on farmers. My priority in the new year will be making sure that we as a government support British farming.
Well, thank you for joining us, Terry Jeremy, the Labour MP for South West Norfolk. And I mean, Terry's right there. I mean, they need to think more about what on earth they're doing. They announce these policies, and you make a choice, you make a policy, and then of course they water them down and they or walk back on them within a few months. And these are important. These are tax-raising measures. They're not just like throwaway ideas that have no cost to us. These will affect the nation's finances. Announcing them just 2 days before Christmas. It's quite extraordinary.
All of the U-turns the government have done, right, have affected people's lives. The enormous amount of pressure on people. The benefit cuts one, the winter fuel payment. I mean, it's just been incredible. Grooming gangs inquiry, another one. I mean, on grooming gangs is different. I think the PM wanted to collect evidence and then he moved. I mean, that's how he works on an evidence-based measure. But just have a national inquiry. Come on.
But if he's an evidence-based PM, why not have a proper review of this family farm tax, for example, and then get the level right, rather than announce it in a rush before Christmas?
Maybe it's another one of those documents that you didn't read. Being a forensic legal type.
That is not fair. Now, all of this, more of Dawn's scurrilous claims at Christmas box against Starmer. More to come. You're with GB News. We are, of course, Britain's #1 news channel. Stay tuned for an extraordinary morning of breaking news.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. We've started the day with a lot of low cloud, but that low cloud will gradually lift, turning things brighter during the rest of the day as easterly winds set in. Those easterly winds also bringing colder weather during the coming days. High pressure to the northeast, easterly winds bringing drier weather, but we still have some showery rain across parts of Cornwall, for example, some parts of Devon. Initially, that's tending to peter out, but the rain across the north and northwest of Scotland remaining into the afternoon, and drizzle over northern hills where the cloud sits on top of the mountains, and that low cloud only slowly lifting during the rest of the day to allow some brightness in before the sun goes down. Best of any cloud breaks, though, will be western Scotland, western parts of England and West Wales. To the east of Scotland, that low cloud sitting on the Grampians will bring some hill fog and patchy drizzle. Northern Ireland seeing some breaks in the cloud as we end the day, and mostly dry weather. A lot of dry weather across England and Wales now, but the easterly wind as it arrives during the afternoon will make it feel colder, particularly across eastern parts of the UK. And that easterly wind will only strengthen during the next couple of days, so overnight it's expected to remain mostly cloudy and with breezy weather continuing. It's going to be frost-free for the vast majority, but it's a colder night, 3 or 4 Celsius for many. A touch of frost possible for sheltered parts of Scotland, where we do have clear spells and actually plenty of sunshine first thing Christmas Eve across Scotland, increasingly so for Northern Ireland, and then the cloud breaks up nicely for much of England and Wales. Still some patches around, particularly towards the east, but a much brighter day on the whole. However, it will be a much colder day with that easterly wind bringing a marked wind chill.
Merry Christmas from my family to yours.
A very, very happy Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas from GB News.
Merry Christmas!
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Currently, on the A303 westbound in Wiltshire, there is significant congestion causing delays of at least 10 minutes between the junctions with the A345 and the A360. Normal traffic conditions are expected to return between 12:45 and 1 p.m. this afternoon. Furthermore, on the railway network, substantial disruption is affecting cross-country services between Wakefield Westgate, Doncaster and Sheffield due to ongoing maintenance work. Simultaneously, northern services continue to experience delays through Rochdale, which is impacting multiple routes and causing inconvenience to passengers. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Back to our astonishing, we can call it a Daubeny word. It is astonishing breaking news today on GB News. This is Daubeny word. The government has announced the level of agricultural and business property relief rates threshold will be increased from £1 million to £2.5 million when it comes in April next year. This means, in short, that only the biggest farms will pay this inheritance tax rather than a lot of smaller family farms. It's great news before Christmas.
It is, following the reforms to agriculture and business property reliefs announced at the budget in 2024. The government has listened to concerns, their words, not mine, listened to concerns of the farming community and businesses about the reforms.
Raising the threshold will significantly reduce the number of farms and businesses owners paying higher inheritance tax bills under the reforms. I make it down to about 1,100 from 2,000, ensuring that only the biggest estates are affected. Now, why is this happening, Dawn? For me, as a political observer, it goes back to the election last year when they said they wouldn't increase national insurance, VAT, income tax. Because of that triple lock on tax raising, they've had to find money from all over the place, which has been deeply unpopular. And that's why they've gone to the family farmers. That's why they went after the pensioners. Under the benefits bill, the Tories also really cut that. But they are trying to find money almost under the cushion, down the back of the sofa in the Treasury, and they've been left in this mess.
Yeah, but it's a mess of their own making.
Yes.
Why did they do it? Why? They're the three main ways that governments raise money. They promised not to touch any of them.
Because they were greedy for the majority, which is fine, you're in politics, you want to end 14 years of Tory rule. But in that greed, they meant that when they came in and there was no money, because we knew we'd spent £500 billion on COVID and the Ukraine energy shock, they had to find money from somewhere. And they went after groups who have protested, and guess what? They've got their own way, or at least partially.
And they lied in any case, because they did go back on the national insurance for employers. And read the small print, always read the small print. Any case, joining us now is farmer Dan Willis to explain the tidings of good joy that you've received from the government.
Dan, good to see you. Who are you with, Dan?
This is my mother. I farm with Hazel.
Hello, Dan. Hello, Hazel. Happy Christmas to you both. This surely is a welcome Christmas present from Sir Keir Starmer.
Well, it's certainly a good start. Let's put it that way. There are several issues ongoing that I still see. It removes the aspiration for us to grow as a business, which, you know, let's face it, most businesses, especially when you're farming, have had to diversify, and you've had to keep diversifying to keep that other income coming in. And the other aspect is, you know, 5 million, it sounds an awful lot of money, and it is an awful lot of money, but it's not the farmers that have created the high land prices. It's the other pressures upon the land, and being taxed upon that is wrong. I would think, just doing some rough estimations in our area, I think it's helped farmers at sort of 200-acre level and below. Mm-hmm. Anything above that is, you know, we're still in the firing line as a family farm. Done a rough calculation here this morning. You know, it's certainly still unachievable for us as a family. You know, my mother's in her 80s. She still works here in the farm office. And, you know, on mum's passing, it still leaves an impossible barrier.
Yeah, Dan, I'm really glad you've got your mum sitting there with you, because this is the human side of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
We're talking about ordinary families who've probably, I mean, I don't know how long your family have been in farming, Dan. I mean, like most farmers, probably a long time.
5 generations, yeah.
Exactly. So this is the real thing. This is you and your mum sitting there. You're dealing with the consequences of this. I mean, I don't know, you know, how your mum coped with the fact that, you know...
No worry.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the pressure, the mental health pressure on both of you.
It's been palpable.
I mean, I think the whole thing is this, that any of this money is not being realised at any time, because no farmer goes around. They want to pass it on to the next generation constantly, and it has to be a very, very long-term thing. And each generation puts their bit in, and as time goes on, obviously land gets more expensive, or people have to diversify into other things because the crops don't pay, and that is very much the case today.
And Mrs. Willis, it must be a huge relief for you to an extent. I know you'll say your farm is still caught by this, but it means that less of any money will go to the taxman.
Yes. Yeah, of course it does. You know, it is. There's Rachel on the phone now wanting some more, I suspect. But I think it is a relief, and it certainly removes some of the burden. However, there is this element that, you know, it's the aspiration of the business. We've done what we were asked to do: diversify, and we've done that almost to our own detriment now, because actually we're going to be taxed upon it. You know, it's almost an impossible situation to see your way round. You know, the 7-year rule would have helped some of the older farmers. We're still caught in that with some of the older farmers who are considering, you know, sort of ending their lives. You know, and Mum and I have talked about death way more than many parents ever talk about death since October last year. That's all the whole discussion has. You know, Christmas was looking bleak, but it's looking a little better. You know, I still don't know how we find our way around it. We won't give up the fight. We will push on, because there still is a big case to answer here. And for the amount of money we're talking, and as you rightly said, it's the impact, the human impact upon working families. I'm a working man. My mother's still working. You know, I thought Labour's policy was about the working people, and to be quite honest, have we seen pretty much every one of their policies is hindering the working person.
Oh, Dan, that's awful to hear those conversations you had to have with your mum, simply for doing your jobs, trying to feed the nation, because that's what farmers are doing. That's what most farmers are doing. You're not all landed gentry, you're not all multimillionaires. Most of you are getting up there and you're grafting every single day.
Yeah, I mean, it's what we do. It's intrinsic. It's how you're brought up. It's, you know, every one of my school holidays was the same. My mother's school holidays was the same. She was driving tractors and moving cows around from about 6 years old. You know, you're expected to do it. It's part of your makeup. But you know, it's you know, the fight continues. We won't give up. We will keep pushing this government. But it does show that perhaps they might just be listening. Who knows?
Well,
who knew? Well,
fingers crossed.
And happy Christmas to you, to Dan Willis, and your mother, Mrs. Willis. It's great to see you both. Happy Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you both. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for joining us. This is, of course, Good Afternoon Britain on GB News, and there is festive cheer from the government to farmers. They've a partial U-turn on the inheritance tax changes in April. Big news for them. I think it says a lot politically. For me, it shows a weakness at number 10. They can't stick even to very difficult decisions, but great news for farmers. We're getting a reaction from MPs and farmers throughout this show on GB News. And you're now in search of some holiday sun. It's getting cold out there. Here's a forecast for some of our top European holiday destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello. Large parts of the Mediterranean looking pretty wet through the Christmas period. Some heavy showers around, some snow over the Alps, and for Madeira also a brisk northerly wind bringing a chill and a fair few showers. Wet weather across Morocco and for the Balearics, and heavy rain for Italy, especially in the north. Some big downpours too for Croatia and down into Greece, although much of the Greek islands will be dry and sunny. We'll continue to see sunny skies in Santorini through the rest of the week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too.
From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Bold. They are under no illusion.
Ray,
Are you a human trafficker?
boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This Christmas, we're inviting you to join the GB News family for an occasion filled with joy. A chance to come together and lift our voices and celebrate what truly brings us closer at this time of year. So whether you're with friends or family or simply in the spirits of the season, we would love to share this special night of carols with you. Carols by candlelight, tomorrow at 8 o'clock, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It is 10 to 1. Thank you so much for your company this afternoon.
Now, reaction from the political world is pouring in following that major government U-turn on its farming policy.
Yes, Shadow Justice Secretary Robert Jenrick has said farmers have suffered so much as a result of Reeves's blunder. Some have even taken their own lives. It's welcome she's changed course, but like every previous Chancellor, she should have dismissed the idea outright. Reeves is simply not up to the job.
Priti Patel has said this: farming families are living in fear and distress. Business lives have been lost, and Labour still fails to understand the importance of Britain's farmers and our rural communities. Labour persecutes farmers who want to work hard and get on in life.
Meanwhile, former Lib Dem leader Tim Farron has said this: outrageous that they didn't do this a year ago. Labour have caused unnecessary grief and anxiety. Welcome. I'm so grateful to all those who have campaigned along with the Lib Dems against this tax. The family farm tax remains, so we will continue to fight it.
We'll be joined later next hour by Victoria Atkins, the Shadow Environment Secretary. But joining us now is another farmer, Richard Payne. Richard Payne, welcome to Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. This is welcome news 2 days before Christmas.
Good morning, both. It is great news, and from my point of view, it's a great start. I mean, and it is a start, but it is great news. And I would like to just take this opportunity to thank all the lobbyists who've worked very hard behind the scenes, organisations like the CLA and the NFU, and indeed, MPs from across the parties, especially sort of people like Mr. Campbell Savers, who lost the whip. He showed tremendous bravery in really exposing what is bad decision-making and bad policy. And I would ask, why has it taken so long and taken up so much time and put so much mental anguish and stress on people to was it 14 months down the line to get to where we are? It's extraordinary that only, I think, 2 days ago, the Chancellor was still sticking to the old and discredited line that virtually no one was going to be affected, and it wouldn't make any difference to the sort of farming profile in this country. So overall, we're very pleased, but as I said, it's only a start.
Richard, the government say they have changed their mind because they have been engaging and talking to the farming community and understood the pressure you were under. But That has been the case for months now. Why suddenly, 2 days before Christmas, do you think we've had this U-turn?
Good question. I mean, I think I don't know whether you can put it down to one episode, but I think when the Prime Minister was in front of the committee the other day, he took a beating, I think, and people like Alistair Carmichael, you know, absolutely pinned him down on the way that this whole thing was running. You know, I don't know whether it is ideology or the wish of these MPs, or whether it is civil service policy or a civil service wish list. But, you know, I think we must be mindful that we are hopefully heading in the right direction. You know, all those elderly people who were not going to be able to plan, I think this will be a huge relief for them. But I would say that the most efficient and slightly larger farms that are still run as a family unit and are not incorporated and haven't indulged in complex ownership structures, you know, the risk has been reduced, but it certainly hasn't been eradicated. And when you think that all farms work on such wafer-thin margins, you know, we are certainly not out of the woods, because I mean, I've just done some mental arithmetic. Where we farm, well, we own 520 acres. We rent in another 200 to make it viable. You know, the tax bill on my death would still be inaffordable for my son to continue to farm the way that we do.
So it doesn't help. It doesn't help you, Richard Payne. Do you want the government to go further then with these reforms and just go back to where they were before, without actually being exempt on farming?
Well, I mean, for the very small amount of money that it raises, I cannot see why they bother. But I do understand the issue of non-farming people trying to hide money in land to avoid paying tax. And, you know, and that doesn't really serve anyone apart from the few individuals involved. So I think that the Sentax proposals that were discarded by the Treasury were sensible in the fact that I think it gave, from memory, a £10 million inheritance tax threshold on the land. And you had to be an active farmer, and you had to have been farming for, you know, a significant period of time before those reliefs became available to the individual. So it just seems that the government is sort of faffing around and meddling at the back end and not making good policy at the front end, because it's inefficient to do it that way, because they can't move on to other topics, because there's been so much outrage. And frankly, I think anyone with half a brain could see that the policy that they've followed doesn't deliver really much real benefit for anyone.
OK.
Richard, thank you so much for joining us. That's Farmer Richard Payne. This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. And there's more on this story to come as we go through the next hour, but stay tuned for all the reaction and some other stories we're bringing you as well. All of that after the weather.
This Christmas, we're giving you the chance to win our biggest cash prize of the year. An incredible £85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours. And we've come to the fabulously festive Aurora Collection Resort here in Lapland to celebrate. £85,000 of tax-free cash really could be yours.
For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Martin Daubney. Weekdays from 3 p.m.
Yeah, so when I was 5 years old, one of my family members, friends, was looking after me one day, like babysitting me. And then on that day, it was a well-trusted friend of our family, was babysitting me and took me upstairs, and he raped and abused me. So from then on, I've suffered and suffered. One of the things that he did say to me was that he would kill me or hurt me in my sleep. So ever since then, I've always suffered with PTSD, night terrors. It never goes away.
It took 20 years for you to face it.
20 years, yeah, to ever come out about what had ever happened to me. My parents didn't know. I didn't tell them anything.
Because a lot of men in your position, a lot of boys in position, they'd rather just take the burden of shame on. That comes at a great, can come at a great cost.
Yeah, lots of friends and family, and I was just scared to tell them, you know, because obviously as well, if I did ever say anything about it, he was going to come and get me. So I managed to find an organisation which is charity run called Arch Teesside, which is near where I live, and I went to go see them. And my therapy at the time, the guy was called Dave Taylor, and he was a big guy, full of tattoos, and you know, when you see somebody, you think, how am I going to open up to somebody of this man, you know? And I hit it off, like, straight away. And I've always told him, this is what I love doing. I love going to the gym. I want to step on stage by the time I'm 40. And then that's what I went and did.
And look at you there. I mean,
what modelling shots, yeah.
You said in your book there, hold your book up, people want to get a copy of this book. Tell them what it's called, mate.
Buy the book.
What's the book called, mate? Tell them.
It's called Breaking the Silence, A Champion's Journey.
And this is it. And your message that you say, if you help one other person out there to channel their pain into purpose, mission accomplished, mate.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 1 p.m. on Tuesday, the 23rd of December, 2025. I'm Christopher Hope.
And I'm Dawn News. I'm glad you said the year. I'm still confused about where we are, to be honest.
Well, what a day it's been. Mark the day, people, because it's a big day here for the government. They've U-turned on their family farms tax.
Yes, indeed. So let's talk to Shadow Environment Secretary Victoria Atkins, who joins us now. Victoria, this is very curious timing, but in theory, good news. What do you make of it?
Well, it's taken 14 months of relentless campaigning by farmers up and down the country, you know, coming to Whitehall, marching, bringing their tractors. If you remember, a couple of them got arrested a couple of weeks ago when they were trying to protest during the budget. And all along through this campaigning, we Conservatives and farmers have been putting the real figures to the government. And government ministers have been arrogantly saying, oh, no, 75% of estates won't be affected. No, it's not having this impact. No, it's all fine. But we have known from our conversations and our work with farmers just how devastating this vindictive tax has been. Not only has it come at a huge economic cost already, you know, investment has been massively down on what it should be. Business confidence has plummeted. We also know, of course, that it's also had a huge human cost. Only last Thursday, I read a letter out to the farming minister from a 90-year-old grandmother, Mrs. Denton, who was asking the Prime Minister the date by which she should die. And the farming minister, who must have known that these changes were in the offing, the farming minister chose instead to dismiss my question and failed to answer Mrs. Denton's question. I accept this partial U-turn, and I thank the farmers for their campaigning, but I think the conduct of this government has been disgraceful through all of this.
Yes, it's shocking to hear that about Mrs. Denton, Victoria Atkins. What explains this announcement when Parliament's not sitting, when most of Westminster has left the area for their holidays, when everyone's looking away? They are rewriting a big tax-raising measure. Without any kind of scrutiny. We've got Emma Reynolds, who's the Environment Secretary, giving us some kind of pooled statement to camera. She's not answering questions from this. We can't ask anybody anything. Why are they doing it now, 2 days before Christmas?
Well, they had the budget a couple of weeks ago, and Rachel Reeves could have stood at that dispatch box and announced this, couldn't she? But instead, as you say, they've snuck this out the day before Christmas Eve. It's interesting. It shows how little this government cares about farming, the environment, food and rural affairs, because we had deferrals on Thursday where she could have made this announcement. She chose not to. She ignored my question about Mrs. Denton. They snuck out Minette Batter's report on Take Out the Trash Day on Thursday. No scrutiny, no ability for us to ask questions on it. They then snuck out the animal welfare strategy yesterday, and today they sneak out this announcement about IHT. So it is very clear that for this Labour government, anything relating to the countryside is an irrelevance, and it's sneaked out when nobody's watching, they hope. We Conservatives have been absolutely at the, trying to help farmers and rural communities throughout all of this, because we know only too well the terrible impact it's had. We had 350,000 people sign our petition to stop this tax, and after 14 months, eventually, this Labour government has made a partial U-turn, but the devil will be in the detail, because if we know one thing from these socialists, they love raising taxes, so they'll get their money and their pound of flesh somehow.
Victoria, do you think it goes far enough? Do you think they should abolish it completely?
Our policy, our Conservative policy is when we're back in government, we will axe the family farm and the family business tax, because we understand how important families and entrepreneurship are. That's why we brought in this tax relief in the 1990s, to try to encourage those people who take that risk, get up in the morning, to feed the livestock or to set their family business going, who employ people, who are the very heart of our rural market towns and our rural economies. We want to protect and work with those people. And so our policy is that we will axe these taxes, because we know the damage they have already created. And I think there's also another point here. I don't think farmers will ever trust Labour again. Why would they? Steve Reid said before the election, when he was the Shadow DEFRA Secretary, we won't raise the family farm tax. What is the first thing they do when they get into government? They impose the family farm tax. So there's no trust here. And we as Conservatives are very much working with the farming community to build a bright and positive vision for farming, because we all know in these very difficult times overseas, we know how important food security is, but also ensuring that we have jobs in the countryside, that young people are employed, that we keep these critical industries going. And Labour are just seeking to destroy them. It's incredibly upsetting, and I think it is shameful the way this government has behaved over the last 14 months.
I can't remember, Victor Atkins, when we've had such a big fiscal announcement when Parliament's not sitting. I mean, just before Christmas. This is hundreds of millions of pounds they've got to find now from the budget that they were not going to get. They say now that rather than 2,000 farms being affected in April, it's 1,100 farms. They've got to find the money from somewhere. Parliament's not sitting. We've now got 2 weeks before we find out. Well, there must be a statement in the Commons on the first day back, but it just doesn't make any sense. Why now? Unless they were worried by the exchanges in that committee meeting with MPs and Sir Keir Starmer about the threat of farmers killing themselves before the change.
But I first raised the first suicide. We heard about a farmer committing suicide before last Christmas, and so I raised this with the then Secretary of State, who has since been moved to another department. I raised it with him at last Christmas. We Conservatives have raised these tragic cases throughout the last year. The ministers have known for a long time that this has been happening. They can't pretend they didn't know. They did know. And what is more, farmers themselves have been writing to ministers. Their letters have very often gone unanswered. They've been writing to ministers with their concerns, and they've had nothing but the dodgy maths that ministers have been relying on repeatedly over the last 14 months, claiming 75% of estates wouldn't be affected. Well, every single farmer I knew and I've met across the country was affected by it. So if their maths have been this dodgy for 14 months, how on earth are we to trust their maths now going forward in the future? This is why we will have to look at the detail of this announcement. And as you rightly say, Chris, it is outrageous that such a significant fiscal U-turn has happened, not just during the holiday season when Parliament's not sitting, but it's happened outside a fiscal event, which for those who care about parliamentary procedure. This is a really big deal. Does this mean that this chaotic Chancellor, after the shambles of the 6 months ahead of her her budget of broken promises, does this now mean that she's going to be making fiscal announcements as and when it pleases her and the political heat?
But you see, Vicky, it wasn't even her making it. It wasn't Rachel Reeves. It wasn't Rachel Reeves ripping up part of her budget. It was somebody else entirely. Somebody who wasn't even the Environment Secretary when it came in. It's Emma Reynolds doing it in a clip to camera. Where is Rachel Reeves? It's her budget's being ripped up here. Where is she?
Yeah, absolutely. And what does this mean for other parts of her budget? So we know that their budget, they raised taxes on working people in order to pay people higher benefits and to expand the benefit, the community of people claiming benefits. What does this mean? Does this mean other secretaries of state are going to start unpicking her budget? I mean,
we don't know.
The ramifications of this are very significant for this government. And I'm afraid all of these announcements, the fact that they released the Minette Batters report on Thursday, this was a serious piece of work which should have been given a proper slot. And instead it was on Take Out the Trash Day. Then they had the animal welfare strategy sneaked out yesterday with some very serious policy announcements in that, including, it seems, favouring foreign farmers over British farmers with imports of meat. And then this today. This is no way to run a government. No wonder, frankly, people are just, in despair at the way that this Prime Minister is running his government. It is not a fit and proper way to run a country and run a government. And so we as Conservatives, we will continue holding this government to account. We will be asking these difficult questions. I don't expect to get any answers in the chamber because we never do from Labour ministers, but we will be asking these difficult questions about how exactly now they've revised their maths and worked out that they were wrong all along. But I'm also going to ask Emma Reynolds for an apology, because I think she and Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer and Steve Reid and all of the junior ministers who have leapt to the defence of this vindictive tax, every single one of them needs to apologise to the farming community and to rural communities.
I mean, Victoria, as you said, you gave an example of that elderly lady who was contemplating what was going to happen when she died, and we were interviewed another farmer talking about death more than they should be. I mean, did this government just not care?
No, I don't think they do. And I spoke to Mrs. Denton's family. They gave that letter to me for the Prime Minister, and I hope the Sun won't mind me saying this, but they said we think this will be Mum's last Christmas. And I've had other stories. I raised in the previous set of DEFRA oral questions, which is, for those who aren't sort of terribly interested in the parliamentary procedure, it's the chance where shadow ministers get to ask questions of backbenchers get to ask questions of ministers. The previous set of questions to that, I put 3 examples that the agricultural chaplain of Suffolk had given to me of people taking their lives. He had tried to raise these cases directly with the Secretary of State and with ministers, and he got no response. And they included a father with small children who had taken his life. They included an elderly lady who was also contemplating taking her life. And the third one, which still pulls at my heartstrings, the teenage son who walked in on his father. I put those cases to the Secretary of State that's just done this video clip, and she had nothing to say to it. And I this is why I think a lot of us, of course, we welcome the partial U-turn, but this has come at an enormous cost, an unforgivable cost.
And that's why we discuss it as a family farms tax, because what's happening here, it's assets passed from generation to generation, exempt from IHT under your government and previous governments, because you can't break up these family farms. It's not as though you don't really realise much money from it, do you? And if you do, I'm sure that's subject to capital gains tax and the like. So you don't realise the value. It's simply passing it on like it's a delicate Fabergé egg to the next generation to work with. I mean, that's what it is, and it affects all generations in the family.
It does, and of course, as Jeremy Clarkson has shown so well with his series, farming has so many different risks and events that can, mean a terrible year for farming. So this year, for example, a lot of farmers have had a terrible harvest because of the weather. A couple of years ago, in my part of the country, in Lincolnshire, my farmers had sown their crops, and then we had Storm Babette, and their fields turned into lakes. So that was wrecked. I have livestock farmers who this winter have said to me they don't think they're going to struggle to continue feeding their livestock because over winter, because it's been such bad weather that they have already run through their forage, and the cost of it now is so high because there's been such a bad harvest. And actually, I wrote to the Secretary of State about a month ago. We held an emergency summit ahead of budget with farmers to ask them for the solutions they need, practical measures to survive the next 12 months. Of course, the family farm tax, scrapping that was the first thing. But there were some other very, very sensible solutions that we gave to the government from farmers directly. And I've had a letter back saying, frankly, not very much, and certainly not taking these solutions on. But, if you think there are many poultry farmers who are facing the threat of avian influenza. There's nothing they can do with this. It's a terrible, terrible threat. And of course, the dreaded bovine TB. If a farm gets bovine TB, then that has huge impacts for the farm. And that's generations of livestock being, nurtured. So these are the things that farmers have to deal with. And on top of all this, they have this Labour government, first of all, lying to them before the general election, and then they have to deal with this 14 months of campaigning just to survive and to ensure their farms keep going. It's, I think, a very bad day for this Labour government.
Victoria, thank you so much for joining us. That's Shadow Environment Secretary Victoria Adkins.
I mean, the government would say, if they were here, they had to try and find a way to balance what they called was a £22 billion black hole. They had to find the money from somewhere. There are landowners who aren't farmers who benefit from IHT. I mean, there are ways of getting around that. They could have a balance sheet proof if you are a farmer. So they were trying to go after people who weren't farmers, who said they were, to avoid inheritance tax. That's where it comes from. The problem is, as we're hearing repeatedly on the show, they've caught up lots of people who are farmers and are facing very, very difficult existential choices.
Sledgehammer to crack a nut, to be honest with you.
OK, now Tory leader Kevin Badenoch has taken to X, Twitter, to give her opinion on the news. She said,
"This is a huge U-turn by the government and a big win for the Conservative Party's campaign against Labour's family farm tax. Earlier this year, I was told to drop our campaign, that there weren't many votes in it. There weren't many farmers and people assumed they were wealthy enough to cope. I ignored that advice and kept campaigning. The family farm tax is cruel, immoral and will not raise any money because farmers will stop farming. It would have pushed farms to the brink, damaged our food supply and hurt the people who work long hours to feed the country. Family farms aren't big corporations, they are often small businesses passed down through the generations, run by parents and children together, rooted in their local communities. If they foul, they are gone for good."
OK, that's Kevin Badenoch slightly putting yourself in that story a bit more than I thought. It's not about Kevin Badenoch necessarily, it's about family farmers, but there's been campaigning by lots of people, including Kevin Badenoch possibly.
Yeah, well, absolutely.
We're joined now by a farmer, Colin Rayner. Mr Rayner, thank you for joining us today, so near to Christmas. Is this a relief for you? You've heard this partial climb down from the government today.
It's a good start, and we thank the government for doing it. I also thank every farmer that got on his tractor and drove to every town. We'd like to thank the public who supported us, and they've come out in their thousands to support us. We're being supported by taxi drivers, bus drivers, and even cyclists. They keep getting talked about these rich people buying farms and then getting tax relief from day one. If you actually contact Inland Revenue, you actually have to farm your farm commercially for 10 years personally, not have a tenant farmer in there. You've got to lose and make money for 10 years. So that is not an argument on behalf of the government. We wish the government could do more. We're still worried about the big American companies buying up family farms, and that's a big worry for every farmer in the world. But it's a good Christmas present for us. We will take that as a win. And I think we're the only organisation that's managed to get this government to change its mind on anything apart from the pensioners' fuel allowance. So we've got a long way to go. But also, it's still stifling farmers who want to be progressive. It's stifling business. We should encourage our young to come into all these industries and, to invest in it. And it doesn't take you long to have assets more than 2.5 million. So it's a start in the right direction. I'm glad they've listened to the grassroots farmers. And I have to again thank every farmer that spent thousands of hours driving up to London, driving into Bristol. We had over 30 Arctics parked in our yard one evening. That cost every farmer £2,000 or £3,000. And there was haulier companies that did it for free. So it's a proud day for the farming community. We have to thank the NFU and the CLA and other farming organisations working in the background. But I think there's a sigh of relief, but we still need to go to more. We still need to get this government to tell the truth about who can reclaim the inheritance tax. You can only claim the inheritance tax if you are a current active farmer. If you own land and you rent it out, you're not allowed to recover it. If you're a share farmer, it is quite possible that you can't claim back the farm. And that's the reason why, Mr. Clarkson had to bring his own farm back in hand. He had to farm it for 10 years commercially. And he's found that being very difficult and very expensive. But I'm just pleased for my parents who went hungry in the 60s and 70s so we could keep our farm. But also, we must thank the Labour government after the Second World War brought in this tax relief. How far has the Labour Party changed? They brought this in after the Second World War, this tax relief for farmers, secure the fuel to this country. But again, we have to thank for small mercies. And also, we must thank GBNews, who have 100% supported the farming community. When we had 1,200 tractors in Whitehall, the BBC and Sky News reported it as a few hundred. So thank you again. We couldn't have done it without you.
Colin, you're more than welcome. I think we all very strongly feel. I mean, I can't believe you're sitting there and you must be with gritted teeth thanking the government for this small mercy after the months of horrors they have put many farmers through. And we heard from Victoria Atkins just now, many have taken their own lives over this.
It is shocking. It is shocking. But the protests didn't only, bring this attention to matters. We met lots and lots of farmers on this protest, and we saved their lives by encouraging them to take part. And we have lost a few people. And I have a very good friend of mine who mum doesn't, wants to die before the 31st of March. Maybe she might not have to.
It's unbelievable. This is why it's not businesses here, Dawn. It's family farms. It's families. It's generations. Well, Colin Rayner, thank you for joining us today, and have a happy Christmas. I hope this cheers you.
Happy Christmas, and thank you again to the public. We love you, and it's been a fantastic journey for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Colin. And you know what? They're the people putting food on our table.
They are.
It's not like it's an industry that no one really cares about. Everybody in the country cares about it because they're feeding us.
Yeah, we're taking it for granted sometimes, and maybe that's what happened here. The Treasury thought they'd take some money here from a sector which is slightly overlooked. I know what they're trying to do. They saw avoidance here by non-farming companies to avoid inheritance tax, but surely there's a better way of doing it then.
Absolutely. I mean, really was. But let us know what you think as well. gbnews.com/you'll You've heard many examples now about ordinary families where you've got mums and dads thinking about taking their own lives.
Yes, it's just appalling.
Wanting to die because it would save their children money. I mean, the government's doing this to us. Any case.
Quite right.
Should we cheer people up a bit?
Let's hear some better news, or some hopeful news for those of you out there watching. Time for the Great British Giveaway, and your chance to win our biggest cash prize to date, an incredible £85,000 in cash. Hayley Sparks has been on a magical trip to Lapland, the home of Father Christmas, and has all the details you need for a chance to make the money all yours.
This Christmas, we're giving you the chance to win our biggest cash prize of the year. An incredible £85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to make your new year the best yet. And we've come to the fabulously festive Aurora Collection Resort here in Lapland to celebrate. Imagine what next year could look like for you with a whopping £85,000 in the bank. You could find yourself on the adventure of a lifetime or just safe in the knowledge that next year is on us. £85,000 of tax-free cash really could be yours. Go on, give it a go, and Merry Christmas!
For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing the 9th of February 2026. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck indeed. That'll be a cracking new year for you, wouldn't it? OK, well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News, and we have some more breaking news next on the drugs kingpin, Ben Ransom, who has been jailed. All of that and much more to come. This is GB News at Britain's news channel. Don't go too far. We'll see you soon.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Some more breaking news coming in just now. A drugs kingpin who lived a lavish double life as a fugitive in Thailand has been sentenced to 14 years in jail.
Yeah, Ben Ransom orchestrated the supply of millions of pounds worth of cocaine and ketamine. Our Home and Security editor Mark White, as always, has the full details for us. Mark.
Well, this is an incredible story of a man who was on the run for more than 2 years and really lived it up, reinventing himself as a Thai boxer, actually. And we can show you images of his arrest in Thailand. This was in July of this year when the police finally caught up with him with the help of the National Crime Agency and also the Royal Thai Police there. That's him going into custody. This is him coming off a flight back from Thailand where further arresting officers from Essex Police were there to take him into custody. Now, he was at the top of an organised crime group responsible for dealing tens of millions of pounds worth of cocaine and ketamine across England, but particularly in the southeast. Now, as I say, he'd been living latterly. He was in Malaga first in Spain, but latterly he had gone to Phuket in Thailand. And there he actually reinvented and renamed himself Billy Roberts and became a Thai boxer in the professional sport in Thailand. This is him competing in multiple high-profile tournaments in Thailand and made quite a name for himself. But of course, you've got to ask about the intelligence of a man that puts himself front and centre of a high-profile sport in Thailand, where the images are published all around the world, and that certainly helped the police in tracking this individual down. Be living in a luxury condominium on the Thai island of Phuket as well. Now, I said he was the top of an organised criminal gang. We can show you some more images now of other members of that criminal gang who were arrested, round up and arrested. That's some images of the drugs. But these are police officers stopping one member of the gang. And it was incredible, these operations, because person after person, they pulled over and found large quantities of drugs. Now, this particular individual, in the back of his van, they found drugs. If we can go back to the video, please, of these arrests. So this individual in the back there, they found actually slabs, bricks of cocaine that were hidden in there, and multiple other people were arrested over the period of more than a year. It was at that point in about 2022 when this man, Ben Ransom, the head of the organised crime group, decided to flee to Malaga initially, where he continued to run the operation. So all of these guys you're seeing there being rounded up and arrested by the police continued to work for him. He lived in Wickford in Essex, and they were still using his house to go pick up the drugs, take them out to various locations. They were also linked to some really serious offenders who used firearms. During this very lengthy operation, the biggest combined investigation that Essex Police has ever mounted, they recovered 20 firearms and more than 20 other deadly weapons as well. So an absolute result for Essex Police, for the National Crime Agency and their colleagues across in Thailand. This man, Ben Ransom, aka Billy Roberts, his Thai boxing name, is now behind bars for the next 14 years.
It is quite astonishing, Mark. It's like something you would get in a gangster movie, literally brought to life.
Well, it's exactly that. He was a gangster at the top of a group of other gangsters who were all responsible. Each of these vehicles that was stopped had hundreds of thousands of pounds worth, an estimated street value of £2 million in just one of those vehicles that was stopped. And this was him. He thought he was the big banana across in Phuket, boxing all these Thai boxers and being quite prolific and successful in that sport, but his ego got too much for him in the end. You know, not doing something to hide, as you would normally think people who are fugitives would do, living a rather quiet life. He wanted to show himself to the world.
OK.
Quite astonishing. And well done to the Essex Police.
Absolutely.
Good result.
Mark White, thank you for bringing that to us. Now some breaking news. 2 men have been convicted at Preston Crown Court of plotting a gun attack on a mass gathering of Jews in the Manchester area. We'll be outside the court shortly with all the details.
This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News, and more of all the breaking news throughout the show for you this afternoon. It's been a very, very busy show. But first of all, let's get your latest news headlines with Tatiana Sanchez.
Dawn, Chris, thank you very much. The top stories. The government will raise the inheritance tax relief threshold for farmers from £1 million to £2.5 million in a climb down following months of protest. The change to the reforms initially unveiled at Labour's first budget last year comes after ministers listened to concerns of the farming community and businesses, according to the Department for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs. A former councillor has appeared in court accused of a string of sexual offences against his ex-wife over a 13-year period. 49-year-old Philip Young is charged with 56 offences, including multiple counts of rape against Joanne Young. Climate activist Greta Thunberg has been arrested in central London at a demonstration in support of Palestine Action hunger strikes. City of London police said a 22-year-old woman's been arrested for displaying a placard in support of prescribed organisation Palestine Action, contrary to Section 13 of the Terrorism Act 2000. And non-crime hate incidents should be scrapped and replaced with a common sense system, police leaders are set to recommend. The scheme would mean only the most serious incidents are recorded as antisocial behaviour. Those are the latest headlines for now. More in half an hour.
For all the latest from GB News whilst you're on the go, get the GB News app. Scan the QR code now to download or visit gbnews.com/app.
Thank you, Tatiana. We'll have more on that breaking news on the Jewish terror plot outside Preston Crown Court shortly, all those details. But all of that with more to come. You're on GB News, which of course is Britain's #1 news channel.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. We've started the day with a lot of low cloud, but that low cloud will gradually lift, turning things brighter during the rest of the day as easterly winds set in. Those easterly winds also bringing colder weather during the coming days. High pressure to the northeast, easterly winds bringing drier weather, but we still have some showery rain across parts of Cornwall, for example, some parts of Devon initially. That's tending to peter out, but the rain across the north and northwest of Scotland remaining into the afternoon, and drizzle over northern hills where the cloud sits on top of the mountains, and that low cloud only slowly lifting during the rest of the day to allow some brightness in before the sun goes down. Best of any cloud breaks, though, will be western Scotland, western parts of England and West Wales. To the east of Scotland, that low cloud sitting on the Grampians will bring some hill fog and patchy drizzle. Northern Ireland seeing some breaks in the cloud as we end the day, and mostly dry weather. A lot of dry weather across England and Wales now, but the easterly wind as it arrives during the afternoon will make it feel colder, particularly across eastern parts of the UK. And that easterly wind will only strengthen during the next couple of days, so overnight it's expected to remain mostly cloudy, and with breezy weather continuing, it's going to be frost-free for the vast majority, but it's a colder night, 3 or 4 Celsius for many, a touch of frost possible for sheltered parts of Scotland, where we do have clear spells and actually plenty of sunshine first thing Christmas Eve across Scotland, increasingly so for Northern Ireland, and then the cloud breaks up nicely for much of England and Wales. Still some patches around, particularly towards the east, but a much brighter day on the whole. However, it will be a much colder day with that easterly wind bringing a marked wind chill.
Thank you, Britain, for making GB News Radio such a huge success. Whether you're in the car, on the go, or listening at home, thank you for choosing us as your radio station.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. The A92 between Preston Roundabout and Bankhead Roundabout is partially blocked southbound due to a broken down vehicle. The M180 westbound in North Lincolnshire between Junction 2 and Junction 1 is affected by an accident with one lane closed. In Bedfordshire, the A1 northbound is dealing with a road traffic collision with one of two lanes closed. The A303 westbound in Wiltshire is congested, causing 10-minute delays. And on the trains, there is major disruption between Newcastle and York, affecting cross-country and Elna services. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Good afternoon, Britain. It is coming up to 20 to 2. Gosh, time is flying
I
today.
thought it was going to be a quiet show before Christmas, Dawn. What happened to that? Silent night?
Yeah.
Silent dawn?
It'd be a bit worrying if it was a silent night for the two of us.
Yes.
It'd be like...
Because it's like
wouldn't it?
It's like midday and 3 p.m, isn't it?
But we have got some amazing breaking stories. It's been non-stop this afternoon. The most important one, Christopher, is obviously the farmers and the U-turn. Another U-turn by the government.
It's a partial U-turn. We're counting them up now. Winter fuel allowance, the benefits never happened. And now the family farms tax has been watered down by a lot. It'll hit half as many farms as was expected in April. And joining us now is a seventh-generation farmer, Niall Holam. Mr. Holam, thank you for joining us on GB News today. Your reaction, please, to this partial climb down from the government?
It's very welcome. It's the first thing we wanted from this government. And yeah, it's going to make a big difference to a lot of people. I know a lot of farms who are not going to fall within the threshold anymore, and they've had more than a year now of misery and stress, wondering what they're going to do, and now they're out of it. There's still many working farms, bigger working farms, that will be affected. People can decide whether that's right or wrong. I think if the government's trying to stop land being used as a tax dodge, they've gone completely the wrong way about it, and they've got a lot more work to do, and a lot more work to win back lost trust with farmers.
Well, that's exactly that, Niall. I mean, the government saying, you know, they've done this partial U-turn because they have been listening to the farming community, talking to farmers. From the farmers we've spoken to, that doesn't actually seem to be the case. So what do you think is behind this?
Yeah, I think Emma Reynolds said she was listening carefully, or listened carefully. I mean, taking a year and a half to hear something that's been shouted at them everywhere. I don't know what a hearing's like, but...
No.
Yeah,
Niall, if I can ask, you're seventh-generation farmer, so how many years has your farm been farming on that land, and were you expecting to have to make some changes to the farm as a result of this family farm tax before the changes?
Yeah, so we've been here for 100 years, but, you know, farming long before that, normally as tenant farmers, and then as a lot of people did in the 50s and 60s and 40s, we got a chance to buy a small farm, going from tenant farming to farming. And that's a change that is being reversed by this policy, I'm afraid. People can't afford to hold on to their small farms anymore. So they'll have to end up tenant farmers, I think, at the end of the day, in another 100 years. Our farm, it's a horrible thing to say, but we were lucky in that my grandmother died before this came across. But if it hadn't, we would be paying £500,000, which is a ridiculous amount of money. It would take us 10 years to make it before even paying ourselves. So we'd be selling half the farm to pay for it. It's...
Oh, no, that's... I mean, I completely understand why you said that, but what a sad thing that you had to say that you were lucky you lost your nan.
Yeah. That's the situation we were in. I mean, a lot more people would have been in that until today, and I just hope it's not too late for some people who have made decisions.
Yeah.
You know,
old
men have made estate planning decisions that involved their lives.
Yeah. Okay.
Niall, thank you. The line isn't too great, so we'll leave you for now. That's our farmer, Niall Holam. Thank you very much for joining us.
So moving to hear that.
Oh, and every single farmer we've spoken to has got a story about...
These are family farms being attacked in this way by this government. They have walked back, though, on some of the policy. Now, breaking news, 2 men have been convicted at Preston Crown Court of plotting a gun attack on a mass gathering of Jews in the Manchester area. We'll be outside the court with the details very shortly.
Actually, our national reporter, I think, Will Godley, can join us now from outside the court. Will, bring us up to speed on this story.
Well, good afternoon. Yeah, the police saying if this attack would have gone ahead, it would have been the deadliest terror attack in British history. 2 men today convicted, found guilty of preparing these acts of terrorism. They are Walid Sadouri, a 38-year-old man, and also Ammar Hussein, a 52-year-old man. Both Islamic extremists told to have a visceral hatred of the Jewish people, and they were planning a terror attack against the Jewish communities in Manchester of the summer of 2024. And over this 11-week trial, the jury were told how the pair wanted to cause untold harm to the communities there and cause mass fatalities with this gun attack. And they also heard how Walid Sadouri hero worshipped the mastermind behind the Paris 2015 attack at the Bataclan Theatre, wanting to recreate something similar in Britain. And as they plotted to do something similar, the pair would scout out locations in Manchester. Sadouri joined Facebook groups of Jewish people under fake names to try and find occasions that they could target in the summer of 2024. But all of this plot of this, what would have been a deadly, horrific terror attack, was thankfully foiled when Sadouri, the ringleader in this case, unknowingly revealed his plan to an undercover police officer who gave evidence in this trial, known only as Farouk. And they made contacts on Facebook, where the pair then met in real life. And Sadouri is said to have told this undercover police officer of his plans, saying they wanted to target Manchester due to the significant size of the Jewish population there. And a quote from the court saying the undercover police officer saying that Sadouri told him, "God willing, we will degrade and humiliate them in the worst way possible and hit them where it hurts." Well, this 11-week trial coming to an end today. Both of them found guilty of preparing an act of terrorism that said to would have caused untold harm, and Greater Manchester Police have been reacting to that verdict.
I must start by thanking the investigation team from Counter-Terrorism Policing Northwest and the Crown Prosecution Service for helping to bring these extraordinarily dangerous terrorists to justice. I am grateful for the professionalism, commitment, and the sheer hard work of the investigation team. They were also well supported by specialist assets from Greater Manchester Police and beyond. They have meticulously delivered upon an operation of almost unprecedented complexity. Their work has ensured that the terrorists' vicious anti-Semitism did not manifest itself in the destructive fashion that they fully intended. It was clear throughout this trial that the scale of the offenders' hatred toward our Jewish community knew no bounds. They sought to bring slaughter to the innocent, but the outstanding dedication and commitment of our people ensured that this unequivocally could not happen. All too recently in Sydney, and of course here in Manchester in October, in the very week before this trial began, we have felt the devastation of terrorism directed toward our Jewish community. A terrorist attack upon our Jewish friends and neighbours is an attack upon us all and is an affront to every decent person in our country.
Well, Greater Manchester Police there thanking those officers undercover in what was a highly highly sort of difficult operation for them, but resulted in foiling this attack. And when they arrested Sidori in May last year, he was found with the guns in his boot, 2 assault rifles, a semi-automatic pistol and almost 200 rounds of ammunition, which the prosecution said he would have used to kill as many members of the Jewish community as they could. Well, a third man today also found guilty, Walid Sidori's brother, Bilal Sidori, of failing to disclose acts of terrorism. That was a majority verdict, the jury reaching today, with 11 people in agreement. All 3 are remanded in custody ahead of sentencing at the 13th of February.
I just asked you one very quick question. Can you tell us more about these men? Are they homegrown terrorists? Were they locals?
Well, Walid Sidori is a Tunisian national, came to the UK on a work visa, where he moved to Clacton-upon-Sea in Essex back in 2012. That was when he was working as a Haven holiday park. He then moved to Great Yarmouth, bought an Italian restaurant there, worked there for many, many years before moving to Wigan, which is where he then planned this horrific terror attack.
Okay. Absolutely awful. Will Godley, thank you very much there. An awful story.
Yes, indeed. This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. There's more on the inheritance tax U-turn for farmers. Do stay tuned. We're firstly travel wherever you are.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello. Large parts of the Mediterranean looking pretty wet through the Christmas period. Some heavy showers around, some snow over the Alps, and for Madeira also a brisk northerly wind bringing a chill and a fair few showers. Wet weather across Morocco and for the Balearics, and heavy rain for Italy, especially in the north. Some big downpours too for Croatia and down into Greece, although much of the Greek islands will be dry and sunny. We'll continue to see sunny skies in Santorini through the rest of the week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Join me, Nana Akua, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
I think it's just good, honest, humble food. And yeah, as people get away from the ultra-processed stuff and get back to their roots, and what's better than a good jacket potato?
Do you know what? Sales of jacket spuds have gone through the roof. The big potatoes at Waitrose. There's been a 178% increase in people looking at recipes. And I just think it's wholesome, it's affordable, it's comfortable, it makes you feel good, it's back to basics. That, I think, at the moment, sums up the nation.
I think very much it being affordable as well. With the climate we're living in at the moment, it definitely helps knowing, you're putting food on the table for a reasonable price, and people appreciate that. And it's good, honest food. You can feed your kids, and kids are seeing it on social media, and they're getting excited about it as well. So they're not like, obviously everyone sees all the big brands, and now there's all these, jacket potato people out there, and we're giving them something that's healthy, and they want to eat it. And I think the parents appreciate that.
And Ben, I've seen your videos. They queue around the block to get to you. If people are in the mood to cook a potato tonight, of course, we don't want to affect your sales. What is your sort of top of the pops spud recipe? Give it to us.
Oh, it's all about variety. It's picking the right potato is really important. Get a nice melody or a cara or culture or something like that. Nice and big. In the oven, if you can. Hour and 20. Get a nice crispy skin on there. Loads of butter, loads of cheese, and a nice curry on top or something. That's my go-to.
Ooh. Now that was a final little curveball they threw at the last minute there, Ben.
GB News, the People's Channel.
This Christmas, we're inviting you to join the GB News family for an occasion filled with joy. A chance to come together and lift our voices and celebrate what truly brings us closer at this time of year. So whether you're with friends or family or simply in the spirits of the season, we would love to share this special night of carols with you. Carols by candlelight, tomorrow at 8 o'clock, only on GBNews, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. More on this extraordinary inheritance tax U-turn for farmers by this government. We have reactions from farmers and MPs throughout the programme, but really extraordinary, I think, and surprising. We are expecting to speak to Aled Thomas, who is chairman of the Conservative Rural Forum in Wales. Mr Thomas, thank you for joining us on GB News. How do you explain the timing of this decision?
Well, I think the timing of this decision reminds me of something that happened earlier this week. As you guys will know at GB News, the cancellation of the morning briefings. It's a case of throwing a big decision like this out, not wanting to take any scrutiny for the matter. I think it's just summing up this Labour government as a whole. Of course, everyone in the farming community is going to welcome this step this morning. It is a small step to what we had previously, but the reality is just pushing it out on a random on the 23rd of December without any chance of scrutiny of ministers is just terrible in my opinion.
Yeah, Aled, do you think it goes far enough?
Well, no, it absolutely doesn't go far enough, and I think Labour have finally come to realise that actually being in government is a lot harder than just shouting from the opposition benches. This isn't a policy that's necessarily new, that's been bandied about. I think civil servants perhaps and policy people in Whitehall have been pushing for quite some time in DEFRA for this to come in. But of course, continuous Conservative governments have rallied against them. And the second that Labour have come in, they've just accepted it as it was written.
Okay.
But the real thing that really makes me sick to my stomach about this is the policy hadn't even come in yet. It was due, wasn't it, in April 2026.
Aled Thomas, we're out of time. Thank you for joining us today on GB News on a big day and breaking news. This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News.
Don't go too far, we're back after the weather. See you soon.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again and welcome along to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It is dry for most for the rest of today, largely cloudy though with a few spots of drizzle here and there, and feeling colder, increasingly so as easterly winds arrive, those easterly winds coming in around the bottom of an area of high pressure which is forming to the northeast of the UK. The easterly winds making it feel cold as they set in across many southern and eastern parts of the UK. But we keep a lot of cloud, that cloud tending to lift through the night, so not quite as gloomy by the start of Christmas Eve. And there will be some cloud breaks developing, enough so to lead to a touch of frost across sheltered parts of the north and west of Scotland. But otherwise it's largely frost-free because of the breeze, because of the cloudier skies as we begin the day tomorrow, with the best of the sunshine across Scotland and the drizzly rain that we've seen across much of Scotland largely drying up by this stage. Northern Ireland, some cloud breaks, so some bright skies to begin things, and for much of England and Wales it's a brighter start compared with the last few mornings. Still areas of cloud around, but they are diminishing. We are seeing an increase in the sunshine as the day progresses. The cloud coming and going then, rather than sticking around throughout, and a decent chance of sunny spells coming through just about anywhere, although we do keep mostly cloudy skies around some North Sea coasts, and that's where it's going to feel coldest with this easterly wind strengthening through the day. Temperatures of 6 or 7 Celsius, but feeling more like 1 to 3 degrees. Nevertheless, it is a much brighter day compared with the last couple of days. Less cloud around, and we continue with that theme into Christmas Day itself. Plenty of sunshine, still a few patches of cloud here and there, but the key thing to note on Christmas Day is it's going to feel cold in the easterly wind.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
A very Merry Christmas to you all from the Aurora Collection Resort in Lapland.
We're on an amazing Arctic adventure to celebrate our greatest cash giveaway, a simply stunning £85,000.
And this Christmas, we're giving you the chance to win it all. So don't miss out this Christmas.
For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, this is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here to GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection. Tune in to GB News, anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversations.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Bo, they are under no illusion. Ray, are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline.
Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 2 o'clock on Tuesday, the 23rd of December, and you're not ready. We're not either. Here's Christopher Hope and I'm Dawn Neeson. Thank you for your company.
In a major U-turn, the government has announced the level of the agricultural and business property relief threshold, that's inheritance tax, will be increased for farmers from £1 million to £2.5 million after a massive campaign by farmers, as you're seeing there on screen. It was going to be reduced in April next year. We'll be getting the latest reaction on that. So that breaking news.
And meanwhile, another breaking story for you. 2 men have been convicted at Preston Crown Court of plotting a gun attack on a mass gathering of Jews in the Manchester area. We're live outside the court for you.
Well, police saying if this attack had not been thwarted, it could have been the deadliest terror attack ever carried out on British soil. Well, after an 11-week trial and 7 hours of deliberations, a jury has found 2 Islamic extremists guilty.
Elsewhere, the asylum seeker who raped a vulnerable teenager in a shocking and violent attack in a park in Murray has been sentenced to 9 years in prison.
I'm sorry, with lots of breaking news for you today. It's a very, very busy show. So thank you so much for your company for a start, because obviously you're going to be very, very busy at this time of year as well. But you do owe it to yourself to sit down and keep me and Christopher company for the next hour. So we've got some amazing stories for you. But that story about the rape And 9 years. I'm sorry.
9 years, that's probably 4 years.
Yeah.
Time served.
Yeah.
And then what happens when he leaves prison? Will he leave the country?
I read
Will
that...
he be deported, as we're told they want to do by the Labour government?
What do you think, Christopher?
I think they say they want to do it, but the problem is, well, there may be some other issues there. His right to a family life, his right to all sorts of human rights, that the victim feels hers were overlooked. That's what may be the case. And as ever with these issues, whose human rights matter the most?
The victims, always the victims.
Well, they should do, but it seems...
That little girl, she's only a young girl, her rights count in this one. What he put her through, I read the details of this case, what he put through was absolutely horrendous. And this person should not have been in the country in the first place. I'm sorry.
And that is the basic duty of this government, is to keep people here safe.
Protect women and girls. Didn't they say they were going to do that the other week? Oh, yeah, how's that going?
OK, send your views and post your comments by going, of course, to gbnews.com/yoursay, or if you're technology-minded, follow Dawn's fingers and scan the QR code on your screens right now. But here's the news with Tatiana.
Chris, thank you very much. The top stories. Breaking news this hour that 2 Islamic State extremists have been found guilty of plotting a deadly gun attack on Manchester's Jewish community. Walid, 38, and Ammar Hussein, 52, were found guilty by a jury at Preston Crown Court today. They'd bought assault rifles, handguns and ammunition for the suicide attack they planned on Jewish targets. They saw any Christian victims as, quote, a bonus. Walid's brother, 36-year-old Bilal from Wigan, was found guilty of failing to disclose information about the pair's terror plans. So Stephen Watson, QPM, Chief Constable of Greater Manchester Police, has spoken today.
They have meticulously delivered upon an operation of almost unprecedented complexity. Their work has ensured that the terrorists' vicious anti-Semitism did not manifest itself in the destructive fashion that they fully intended. It was clear throughout this trial that the scale of the offenders' hatred toward our Jewish community knew no bounds.
Elsewhere, the government will raise the inheritance tax relief threshold for farmers from £1 million to £2.5 million in a climb down following months of protest. The change to the reforms initially unveiled at Labour's first budget last year comes after ministers listened to concerns of the farming community and businesses, according to the Department for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs. DEFRA says the higher threshold, which will take effect in April, will allow spouses or civil partners to pass on up to £5 million in qualifying agricultural or business assets between them before paying inheritance tax on top of existing allowances. Reform UK Deputy Leader Richard Tice says this cynical climb down, whilst better than nothing, does little to address the year of anxiety that farmers have faced in planning to protect their livelihoods. Tory leader Kemi Badenoch welcomed the government's huge U-turn on their, quote, cruel, immoral farm tax plans, but said the Conservatives will keep pushing until the tax is lifted from other family businesses. Environment Secretary Emma Reynolds insists the government want to protect more ordinary family farms.
It's important that as a government we listen to those farmers and businesses who will be affected by changes in policy, and as a result of the announcement that I'm making today, 85% of farming estates who claim agricultural property relief will now pay no inheritance tax, and those farming estates and others who are paying inheritance tax will be subject to a lower liability. But it's right that we continue to make the tax system fairer, and the largest and the wealthiest estates pay their fair share in inheritance tax.
In other news, a drugs kingpin who lived a lavish double life as a fugitive in Thailand has been jailed for 14 years. 30-year-old Ben Ransom orchestrated the supply of millions of pounds worth of cocaine and ketamine across the southeast of England. While on the run in Thailand, he reinvented himself as a professional Thai boxer and appeared in multiple high-profile tournaments. He lived on the holiday island of Phuket in a luxurious building. He was eventually brought down in a joint operation by Essex Police, the UK's national crime agency, and authorities in Thailand. Other members of Ransom's gang have already been prosecuted and sentenced to lengthy prison terms. And a former councillor has appeared in court accused of a string of sexual offences against his ex-wife over a 13-year period. 49-year-old Philip Young is charged with 56 offences, including multiple counts of rape and administering a substance with intent to stupefy his former spouse, Joanne Young. Mr Young did not enter a plea in court today. A total of 6 men have been charged with offences against Miss Young, who has waived her legal right to anonymity. Mr Young served as a Conservative councillor on Swindon Borough Council between 2007 and 2010. And those are the latest GB News headlines. For now, more news from me in half an hour.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Here's a quick snapshot of the markets. The pound buying you $1.3504 and €1.1456. The price of gold is £3,328.69 per ounce, and the FTSE 100 is at 9,871 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Thank you, Tatiana. Good afternoon, Britain. It is coming up to 8 minutes past 2. I've got breaking news for you. 2 men have been convicted at Preston Crown Court of plotting a gun attack on a mass gathering of Jews in the Manchester area. Our national reporter Will Godley has the story for us.
Well, good afternoon to you, Dawn. Yeah, from Preston Crown Court here, where the police reacting in the last few minutes to this verdict, saying if this plot hadn't been foiled, it could have been one of the deadliest terror attacks ever to have taken place on British soil. This verdict today came after nearly 7 hours of deliberations by the jury, and at the end of an 11-week trial here in Preston Crown Court, where Walid Sadori, the ringleader in this case, a 38-year-old man, was found guilty of preparing acts of terrorism, and as was Ammar Hussein, a 52-year-old man, also found guilty of preparing acts of terrorism. And during this 11-week trial, the jury heard how the pair had a visceral hatred of Jewish people, and that is who they were planning their attack on. This attack that was planned to cause untold harm and mass casualties in the Manchester area, targeting Jewish people. The court also heard that Sadori hero worshipped the mastermind behind the Bataclan attack in Paris in 2015, wanting to cause a similar gun attack in Britain. And as he looked to do so, he joined Facebook groups that were Jewish community groups in Manchester as he sought to find appropriate targets for this attack. They also scouted out areas in Manchester together for their attack, and they were seen in Dover as well, looking how they would smuggle in weapons to the UK to carry out this attack. And when Sadori was arrested, he was found with those guns in his boot. They were 2 assault rifles, a semi-automatic pistol, and 200 rounds of ammunition, which the prosecution alleged he would have used to kill as many Jewish people as possible. Now, this attack thankfully did not take place. It was foiled by counter-terror police here in Manchester, who say this was one of their largest and most complex operations as they went undercover to foil this plot. The undercover police officer first making contact with Walid Sadori on Facebook back in December 2023. Building a rapport there before meeting in February of 2024. And this undercover officer was known only in court as Farouk, who spoke and gave evidence in court where he said Sadori told him that, God willing, we will degrade and humiliate Jewish people in the worst way possible and hit them where it hurts. He went on to say that Sadori was planning to target children, women, elderly people as well, and also targeting Christian people. If they were killed, they saw that as a bonus. Well, this planned attack was foiled by counter-terror policing after a large and complex investigation when these people people, both of them arrested in May of 2024, and now both today found guilty of preparing acts of terrorism. Now that charge, that offence carries a life sentence in prison, but a third man also today found guilty, Walid Sadouri's brother, Bilal Sadouri, a 36-year-old man who was found guilty of failing to disclose information about acts of terrorism in the same period, after the court heard how Bilal heard that Walid wanted to martyr himself in the attack, and Bilal was having to look after his will that would be implemented after he died in this attack. Well, Bilal also found guilty of failing to disclose information about acts of terrorism. That charge, an offence, carries a maximum of 10 years in prison. Well, all three have been today remanded in custody, and they'll be sentenced here outside Preston, or inside Preston Crown Court, on the 13th of February next year.
Will Godley there. Thank you for joining us for that update. Joining us now is the chairman of the National Jewish Assembly, Gary Mond. Gary Mond, thank you for joining us. Your reaction, please, to that news from Will Godley.
Well, my first reaction is to thank Farouk, who I believe is the name of the undercover agent who managed to thwart this horrendous plot. It is no surprise, sadly. We had the Bataclan massacre in Paris more than 10 years ago, where 150 people were murdered. We nearly saw the same thing happen here. It's no surprise that so many Jewish people in Britain are frightened, and as the Campaign Against Anti-Semitism report, which came out last week, said, many are looking to leave the country.
And Gary, it's absolutely terrifying that these people are on our streets. They're living amongst us, they're working amongst us. And the hate, I'm just reading the details of the trial and some of the evidence given. The absolute sheer hatred of the Jewish community is unbelievable.
Yes, it is. It's been developing for many years now. We have not done enough to deal with fundamentalist Islam. That lies behind this particular case. And their partners in crime, the far left, who generally make it easy for them to prosper in our communities. We don't arrest imams who preach hatred in mosques. We don't do anything near enough to deal with this threat. And it's not just Britain, it's other Western governments in Europe and around the world who have many of them have a left-wing attitude, which is essentially, oh, just let it be. We need to address it. You see, what begins as verbal abuse goes on to be graffiti, it goes on to be arson, it goes on to be murder, and then ultimately it goes on to be mass murder. And this entire chain, this entire path needs stopping at the outset. Governments are not doing enough to address it.
And we were told they were IS-inspired, Islamic State-inspired. We saw similar links to IS in those Bondi attacks in Sydney, didn't we, 10 days ago now. IS is increasingly, it seems, a problem here with inspiring these attacks.
I wouldn't just say IS. I think it's all the different branches of fundamentalist Islam around the world which are causing the problems. I wouldn't specify one individual grouping. It's much bigger than that. And we need to recognise the threat coming from militant Islam who essentially hate Jews. And notice also, Christians were mentioned in the report. You see, their attitude is actually first the Saturday people, then the Sunday people. And the politicians who actually get it realise that anti-Semitism is a threat not just to Jews, but to the whole fabric of British society as well, including the Christian community.
Gary, one of the messages between the two was read out in court. It was posted after a bridge had collapsed and Jewish people had been killed, and he added the hashtag beloved Palestine. Obviously, our government actually recognised Palestine. How damaging do you think that is to the Jewish community in this country?
It's very damaging the world over, frankly, not just the Jewish community in Britain. But it demonstrates that the government is prepared to recognise fundamentalist Islam, because that is what Hamas and the other Islamist groups in Gaza and in Judea and Samaria actually are. They are prepared to recognise a state which actually doesn't really exist, but they're prepared to recognise it, even though it is led by militant Islamists, the type of people who carry out massacres. It is a disgrace. And what Starmer and his friends did really will haunt them for a long, long time.
And what lessons can the government learn from this? You taking further crackdowns on, as you say, the right to protest, or the issue of anti-Jewish graffiti and the like? I mean, we have heard, haven't we, how they're going to be tougher on chanting in the new year, I think, when there are Palestinian marches. That's the Met Police announcing that last week.
For me, that's not enough. We want to see all forms of hate marches banned. And the hate marches that have been going on, they say it's in the name of Palestine. But let's be honest, the Arab communities who live in Gaza and Judea and Samaria would be far better off if they actually were freed of the terrorists who are running their areas. We actually want to see the Arab communities prosper, much more like the Arab communities who are living within Israel, of which there are 2 million of them, and they do very, very well. That sort of lifestyle should be able to come to those Arabs who are living in Gaza, Judea and Samaria. I would like to see that happen. So this cause of Palestine is a non-cause. When they talk about Palestine, they talk about killing, they really mean killing Jews. And of course, if they really cared about Palestine, they would have been saying things a few years ago when Bashar al-Assad, who was then leader of Syria, was massacring hundreds of thousands of Palestinians. And of course, they said nothing at all at that time.
Gary, we are just 10 days out of that horrific scenes from Bondi Beach. How worried are you that we could witness something similar in the UK?
Increasingly worried, in all honesty. And it's not, and this has been, I've actually seen an interesting trend. On top of what I said earlier about a lot of Jews wanting to leave the country, there are also Jews who live in very Jewish areas who can't afford to leave the country, either for family or financial reasons, who are looking to move within the UK to areas that are much less Jewish because they believe they're far less likely to be targets. We're seeing in northwest London, which is a very Jewish area, quite a lot of Jews looking to move out to areas like Hatfield, Welwyn Garden City and elsewhere, which are less Jewish. We've also even seen Jewish communities in the north of the country moving to York, of all places, which was an area where there were massacres of Jews in the 12th century, the first big pogrom against the Jewish people in this country.
OK. Well, Gary Mond, the chairman there of the National Jewish Assembly, thank you for joining us today on GB News. Thank you.
Very passionate words there, weren't they?
Yeah.
But do let us know. This programme is always about you as well and your views. And I'm aware that we haven't read many out, but it's been obviously a very busy news day. gbnews.com/your say. Get in touch and we will read as many out as we possibly can.
Definitely. Now, time for the Great British Giveaway now, and your chance to win our biggest cash prize to date. An incredible £85,000 in cash. Hayley Sparks has been on a magical trip to Lapland, where Father Christmas lives, and has all the details you need for a chance to make it yours.
This Christmas, we're giving you the chance to win our biggest cash prize of the year.
An incredible £85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to make your new year the best yet.
And we've come to the fabulously festive Aurora Collection Resort here in Lapland to celebrate.
Imagine what next year could look like for you with a whopping £85,000 in the bank.
You could find yourself on the adventure of a lifetime or just safe in the knowledge that next year is on us. £85,000 of tax-free cash really could be yours. Go on, give it a go, and Merry Christmas!
For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing the 9th of February 2026. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck indeed. 9th of February, that's just before Valentine's Day.
Oh, yes.
That could be one hell of a Valentine's Day, couldn't it? Yeah, absolutely.
Laura roses.
Yeah, and champagne and everything else you want to do. Good luck indeed. It's a great prize. OK, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. And there's much more to come on that inheritance tax.
We'll be hearing from Sarah Purchase from Reform and Alistair Carmichael, who chairs the DEFRA Select Committee. All of that and more to come. Stay with us. We, of course, are Britain's news channel and the #1 too.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's coming up to 25 minutes past 2 on Tuesday.
Yes, so what a day it's been so far. It's not a quiet day before Christmas.
Busy one, absolutely. Now, back to that, breaking news on inheritance tax. The government has announced that the level of the agricultural and business property reliefs threshold will be increased from 1 million to 2.5 million when it is introduced in April next year.
We're not joined now by the Liberal Democrat MP for Orkney and Shetland, Alistair Carmichael, who is also chair of the Environment Committee. Alistair Carmichael, thank you for joining us on GB News. Your questioning of the Prime Minister last week on that committee in the House of Commons really set hairs running. Do you think that was the moment when he woke up to the need to announce this partial climb down?
Well, I would love to claim all the credit for this, but honestly, this has been a 13, 14-month campaign, and it's been a quite remarkable exercise. And I pay tribute to all the farming unions, all the countryside organisations, the Tenant Farmers Association, everybody else, and just like every farmer who tied a banner to their gate post, or who drove a tractor in their local area or down Whitehall, or just signed a petition. We've had a remarkable awakening of political consciousness amongst farmers. They've really got together, and it's been that unity of purpose and that unity of message that has brought that today. I'm delighted to have been part of that, but, just one small part.
Alistair, the timing is very, very strange. I mean, literally just 2 days before Christmas, you say you've had 14 months of campaigning. The government have been told time and time again what effect this is having on farmers and farmers' families. Why now?
Well, look, better late than never, shall we say. You know, I was reminded today that some months ago I was in a meeting with the Treasury Minister who's in charge of this at the time. And, you know, there's been highs and lows in this campaign, and that was definitely one of the lows. He basically just sat there, stony-faced, and said, look, I'm telling you now, we are not going to move on that. And there was just no reasoning with them. You know, look, in years to come, the academics will probably crawl over this and they will see that actually this is the worst possible way to make policy, because everybody knows that actually inheritance tax is a tax that needs reform. But start the conversation first, listen to people, do the impact assessments, and then make your announcement. Don't make your announcement in a budget and then spend the next 14 months trying to unpick it. It's just a crazy way to do government.
Alistair Carmichael, your meeting was with a Treasury Minister. Was it James Murray, for example? I think he was in charge of the tax in the Treasury. But you met...
It was James Murray. I wouldn't normally quote people from a private meeting, but he said as much publicly as well, so I don't feel I'm breaking any great confidence.
No, but what I'm puzzled about as a political observer is why is this announcement being made by Emma Reynolds, the Environment Secretary, when the Treasury, which drove the policy, which announced the policy in the budget, is completely silent? What's going on?
Well, I mean, I think it would be difficult for Treasury to make an announcement like this, but frankly, I don't care who makes the announcement. The fact is that this is really good news. And in fairness to Emma Reynolds, you know, it was her department that had the legs cut out from underneath them by Treasury. So if there's some good news to be had, then, you know, let them have the moment in the sunshine, because hopefully now this will actually allow us to move on to the whole range of different things that there are needing to be discussed in agriculture. You know, we've got massive problems with the way that farming support is paid now. You've got a sustainable farming incentive that's still closed to applications months after it was closed without any notice. We've got trade deals, both from the previous government and this government, that are risking bringing in cheaper imports that are produced to a lesser standard of animal welfare, while we're ramping up animal welfare standards in our own country. You know, an awful lot that we need to be talking about in farming, and hopefully now we will have the chance to have some of that conversation. Food security, always remember, and it's the one thing I've never quibbled with Keir Starmer on, food security is national security. Let's work out what that actually means.
Alistair, does this go far enough, and would the Lib Dems abolish it completely if they were in power?
I would certainly want to see this abolished, and I think that, you know, what you've got today is very welcome, but ultimately I don't see this policy in any shape or form surviving beyond the next election unless there is another majority Labour government, and I think from all I see at the moment that's pretty unlikely. So, you know, it's good progress. There are still people who are going to be caught by this. It will still cause problems, but the reason that I welcome it is that the people who were really at risk from this were the small family farms, who are the background of so many of our rural communities. They'll get better protection from this, and as a consequence, you know, I think this is a significant moment.
The idea had been, of course, to try and stop people who weren't farmers from saying they were farmers, to avoid inheritance tax when passing on their estates. And now it's only those above £5 million. Shouldn't they not rethink the whole idea here? I think the Lib Dems had an idea of a balance sheet test. Show you're trading as a farm, and that will mean you don't pay IHT at all.
There are so many different ways, and the farming community themselves and the farming unions came up with a lot of them. So yes, demonstrating that you are a proper active farmer, which frankly isn't difficult. You just open your books at the end of the year and you can show that. Or else have a clause where, yes, it passes on for a 10-year period, and if in that 10-year period you sell the farm and you realise the worth of the asset, at that point inheritance tax might be payable. So many many ways in which you could improve this tax, but none of them start if you do business in the way that the Treasury have done business. I hope that, once we've all had our Christmas and New Year break, we'll maybe just take a moment or two to reflect on why this has been so bad, why it has caused so much distress to farming families up and down the country, and learn lessons to make sure we don't do this again.
Just very finally, will your committee be calling the Minister to your committee to ask what on earth happened?
Well, we will want to go over this with ministers in the future, but for the moment, I think everybody, the committee included, have earned a day or two to be at home with their families. Okay. There's always another moment for a minister to come before a select committee. That's why it's such a great job.
Okay. Alistair, thank you very much. That's a Lib Dem MP for Orkney and Shetland, Alistair Carmichael there. Thank you very much.
Well, there we are. More to come now. Joining us now is the Reform UK MP for Runcorn and Helsby, Sarah Pochin, with her party's take on what's going on. Sarah Pochin, how do you explain today's dramatic announcement on the family farm tax?
Well, obviously, Reform welcome this U-turn. It's a partial U-turn. It should be a full U-turn in our view. And as you know, Reform's policy would be that on day one, we would do away with the family farm tax altogether. Reform have always stood by the farmers, and I congratulate the farmers in, their endless energy at driving down to Westminster, protesting. There's protests in my constituency of Runcorn and Helsby, because this was always ill thought through. And what the government, I believe, didn't ever really understand is that a working family farm is a business putting food on our tables. It is not a tax loophole.
Sarah, they've had 14 months of farmers telling them the pressure this is putting on family farms, people considering taking their own lives. We've interviewed elderly farmers who are saying, well, I'm not sure I can go on with this. I mean, real horror stories from ordinary families up and down this country. 14 months they've had those stories. Why suddenly, 2 days before Christmas, is this snuck out, to use a phrase that someone used earlier on?
Well, it's interesting about what is being slipped out 2 or 3 days before Christmas, isn't it? I mean, on the subject of the farmers, they've had 14 months of anxiety, of huge stress. I've had my local farmers come and talk to me about it. I had a farmer in tears, really heartbreaking stories, and it was unnecessary. It was an ill thought through policy. But going back to what happens 2 or 3 days before Christmas, I mean, since Parliament closed on Thursday, we've had a leak of the Islamophobia definition. We've had this come through, no end of things start to be slipped out just before Christmas because, they think the press is on a wind down, the media's on a wind down, opposition are on a wind down. I don't know why they've decided to do this, but what I would say, is I welcome it, but it is only a partial U-turn, and there should never be an attack on British farming. It is the bedrock of our society. I want to see British food on British tables. And some of the animal welfare bill that's coming in, is deeply concerning. We all want the very best welfare for animals. But of course, it is going to cost British farmers more against cheap imports. Is there going to be a subsidy for British farmers? We don't know. We need to find out more about it. I hope this is not yet another ill thought through Labour policy.
Indeed.
Well, wait and see. Well, Sarah Pochin, the Reform UK MP for Runcorn and Helsby, thank you for joining us today on Good Afternoon Britain.
And Merry Christmas, Sarah, thank you. OK, well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News, and please do let us know what you're thinking about all the stories we're discussing today at gbnews.com/you're safe. Very easy to join in the conversation. Lots of you are getting very annoyed about the farming story.
And do stay tuned. We'll be hearing from Baroness Batters, Minette Batters, a former National Farmers Union president who wrote a report out last week on the farming industry. She hasn't spoken yet, I don't think, to GB News. She'll have a lot to say on this change to IHT. More from her straight after the break. Stay tuned to GB News.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. We've started the day with a lot of low cloud, but that low cloud will gradually lift, turning things brighter during the rest of the day as easterly winds set in. Those easterly winds also bringing colder weather during the coming days. High pressure to the northeast, easterly winds bringing drier weather, but we still have some showery rain across parts of Cornwall, for example, some parts of Devon initially. That's tending to peter out, but the rain across the north and northwest of Scotland remaining into the afternoon, and drizzle over northern hills where the cloud sits on top of the mountains, and that low cloud only slowly lifting during the rest of the day to allow some brightness in before the sun goes down. Best of any cloud breaks, though, will be western Scotland, western parts of England and West Wales. To the east of Scotland, that low cloud sitting on the Grampians will bring some hill fog and patchy drizzle. Northern Ireland seeing some breaks in the cloud as we end the day, and mostly dry weather. A lot of dry weather across England and Wales now, but the easterly wind as it arrives during the afternoon will make it feel colder, particularly across eastern parts of the UK. And that easterly wind will only strengthen during the next couple of days, so overnight it's expected to remain mostly cloudy and with breezy weather continuing. It's going to be frost-free for the vast majority, but it's a colder night, 3 or 4 Celsius for many. A touch of frost possible for sheltered parts of Scotland, where we do have clear spells and actually plenty of sunshine first thing Christmas Eve across Scotland, increasingly so for Northern Ireland, and then the cloud breaks up nicely for much of England and Wales. Still some patches around, particularly towards the east, but a much brighter day on the whole. However, it will be a much colder day with that easterly wind bringing a marked wind chill.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News every week.
You're not only watching and listening to our programmes, you're becoming part of them too.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBnews.com. Significant disruptions on the A92 southbound between Preston and Bankhead roundabouts are due to a broken down vehicle. The M6 northbound in Staffordshire between junctions 14 and 15 has 30-minute delays. Northamptonshire's M1 northbound at junction 15 and Essex's M11 northbound at junction 6 have 10-minute delays. The A303 eastbound between the A36 and A360 in Wiltshire faces 20-minute delays. On the trains, both cross-country and Elna are experiencing disruptions between Newcastle and York. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
It's 2:39. Our national reporter Charlie Peters joins us now with some breaking news. Charlie.
Well, Scotland's Justice Secretary Angela Constance is facing an independent investigation over claims that she broke the ministerial code in Scotland, having been accused of misleading Parliament over claims that Alexis J, a grooming gangs expert, a CSE expert, had made about an inquiry in Scotland. She's come under a lot of pressure over claims that she misled MSPs when she is alleged to have misrepresented comments made by Ms J about grooming gangs in a Holyrood debate in September. Now, the Scottish Conservatives back then put forward an amendment to a bill saying that there should be an inquiry into grooming gangs north of the border, but Angela Constance said no, and she pointed to comments made, that she said, by Alexis J, that an inquiry wasn't needed in Scotland. In fact, Alexis J later clarified that she did think an inquiry was necessary. Now, last week, Angela Constance survived a vote of no confidence, which was launched by the Scottish Conservatives, backed by Scottish Labour and the Lib Dems, but she's now under renewed pressure. I have a statement here from the Scottish Government who say that the independent advisers have notified the First Minister they wish to initiate an investigation into the Cabinet Secretary for Justice and Home Affairs. The advice provided to the First Minister on the outcome of the investigation undertaken by the independent advisers will be published in a timely manner after the case has been decided by the First Minister. Now, this is going to be a tricky time for the SNP and for Angela Constance in particular. If a minister has been found to have misled Parliament, it's a sacking offence or usually someone resigns.
Wow. Well,
huge story.
Thank you, Charlie. Yeah, and it shows how this this scandal echoes north. We think it's a London-based parliamentary battle. There's also a big issue in the Holyrood Parliament.
Absolutely, and it's an issue in Scotland as well, because the national inquiry announced by the Prime Minister in June covers only England and Wales. There is a UK-wide police investigation, Operation Beacon Port, led by the National Crime Agency, which, for what it's worth, I think will actually generate more useful results than the sort of civilian inquiry, as it were. But there has been this argument in Scotland for a long time that it should have its own inquiry. In November, we revealed a grooming gang in Glasgow that had operated a decade ago, which was then actually used by the Conservatives in First Minister's questions, putting the government under a lot of pressure. They've since launched what they say is a Casey-style review to look into the problem in Scotland, and perhaps on the back of that, an inquiry might be launched.
Well, let's hope people do start actually being held responsible for their lack of behaviour, and some of these victims get justice.
Well, that's certainly what they're hoping for, and some clarity, I think, on through this investigation could be provided on what Angela Constance said in September. When you look at the evidence about what she said and what Alexis Jay has said, it is a tricky position for her, but the SNP has backed her, along with the Greens, that defended her in that vote of no confidence, which she survived.
Charlie, can I just ask you and you've covered this story, you've done brilliantly on it, obviously. You've covered the story for a long time now, the grooming gangs. Is there anything that still surprises you about it, about the lack of answerability that our politicians have, the way the girls have been treated? Are you shocked by any of it anymore, or you just expect the worst?
I remain shocked by, despite the amount of evidence we have about so many parts of this scandal, how reticent some senior figures in public life are to engage with it, or to engage with it in good faith when they do. We have seen recent controversy after a Home Office Minister, Mike Tapp, gave us a very strong interview about what he wants this inquiry to do. And there was a lot of kickback from the left on that, particularly from the Green Party, who said that those comments were racist or even far right. We saw some left-wing commentators making that charge. That shouldn't necessarily surprise me, because it's been a constant attack for so many years. But I think this year, the national conversation has moved forward so much on this issue. People have become more aware of the problems surrounding it, particularly on ethnicity, potentially religion, on clannishness, on the wider links with national networks, on organised criminal gangs. All of that information is there to be investigated. Very few people now are hesitant to see it investigated.
And it seems that we are going to have the national inquiry set up by April, and it's gone OK in terms of no one's walked out. Victims haven't complained about the new appointment of the new chair of that.
Well, there's some mixed responses on that, particularly the fact that Baroness Longfield, who's been appointed as chair, was a Labour peer, withdrew the whip, resigned the whip really on the day of her being announced as the chair. But I think people are waiting to see what the finalised terms of reference are. But turning our attention back to Scotland, that's going to be a key part of it. Kimmy Badenoch told us 2 weeks ago she thinks Scotland should be part of the national inquiry.
OK.
Agreeing with Kevin.
Thank you, Charlie Peters.
Thank you very much, Charlie.
This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. More to come on the inheritance tax U-turn for family farms. Do stay tuned. We'll have more reaction. But first, if you want some holiday sun, here's a forecast for some of our top European holiday destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello. Large parts of the Mediterranean looking pretty wet through the Christmas period. Some heavy showers around, some snow over the Alps, and for Madeira also a brisk northerly wind bringing a chill and a fair few showers. Wet weather across Morocco and for the Balearics, and heavy rain for Italy, especially in the north. Some big downpours too for Croatia and down into Greece, although much of the Greek islands will be dry and sunny. We'll continue to see sunny skies in Santorini through the rest of the week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This Christmas, we're inviting you to join the GB News family for an occasion filled with joy. A chance to come together and lift our voices and celebrate what truly brings us closer at this time of year. So whether you're with friends or family or simply in the spirits of the season, we would love to share this special night of carols with you. Carols by candlelight, tomorrow at 8 o'clock, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's nearly 10 to 3 already. Gosh, time is flying. So let's get straight on to the story we're covering mainly today, which is Labour's partial U-turn on the farming inheritance tax. So let's talk to a Labour councillor now, Sebastian Salek, for the Labour viewpoint on this. Sebastian, what do you make of this? And explain the timing. Why 2 days before Christmas snuck out? No one knew about it.
Yeah, curious timing, certainly. I wouldn't necessarily go in for the idea that if you sneak out news now, then nobody's going to know about it. We're talking about it. It's leading all the major newspaper website. It was a BBC push alert. So if somebody's trying to bury news, they haven't done a very good job of it. I mean, look, on the policy, I think this is an adjustment. This is Labour listening to backbenchers, listening to unions, listening to the farming community, and trying to find some kind of a compromise. I think any idea that this is a U-turn is maybe a little bit overblown. I mean, they were going to raise 520 million. They're now looking to raise about 300 million. So still money for the exchequer, still tax to pay for farmers, which I think is the right thing. I don't think there should be a particular exception. So maybe slightly overblown if you're going for the U-turn line.
No, Sebastian, it's definitely a U-turn. What's happening here is now a hole in the government accounts caused by a tax measure decided when Parliament isn't sitting and there's no scrutiny because the Minister isn't around to be interviewed. That's why it's looking like a U-turn. And that's why we're talking about it, because there's no government defence of what they're doing. Simply a clip to camera by Emma Reynolds, the Environment Secretary.
I mean, look, I think if they come in today and said we are completely reversing everything we said, that would be a U-turn. This is more of an adjustment, maybe. But hey, let's not argue over semantics.
I mean, people have considered taking their lives over this policy, Sebastian. I mean, it's a bit more than semantics, isn't it?
Oh, sure. And look, I mean, I would certainly discourage anybody from doing that. It's a horrible situation to be in. And now there is some more certainty for people. But still, this is a very generous position. We're talking about people with assets in the millions of pounds. I don't have that. Most people don't have that. And even beyond the threshold at which they are not taxed, they're paying 20% rather than 40%, which most people are. So this is still incredibly generous for people with a lot of valuable assets.
Sebastian Salek, a Labour councillor, thank you for joining us today. Do appreciate it. And now, of course, it is Christmas. And who better hit here from a Christmas than Sir Geoffrey Cox, a former Conservative Attorney General with one of the most richest and recognisable voices in Westminster.
I heard the bells on Christmas Day, their old familiar carols play, and wild and sweet the words repeat of peace on earth, goodwill to men. And thought how, as the day had come, the belfries of all Christendom had rolled along the unbroken song of peace on earth, goodwill to men. Till ringing, singing on its way, the world revolved from night to day, a voice, a chime, a chant sublime of peace on earth, goodwill to men. Then, from each black, accursed mouth, the cannon thundered in the south, and with the sound, the carols drowned of peace on earth, goodwill to men. It was as if an earthquake rent the hearthstones of a continent and made forlorn the households born of peace on earth, goodwill to men. And in despair, I bowed my head. There is no peace on earth, I said, for hate is strong and mocks the song of peace on earth, goodwill to men. Then pealed the bells more loud and deep. God is not dead, nor doth he sleep. The wrong shall fail, the right prevail, with peace on earth, goodwill.
So Geoffrey Cox reading Christmas Bells by Henry Longfellow. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow for my podcast, Chopper's Political Podcast this week, available on all good podcast
He does
channels.
a podcast. Who knew? He never mentions it. Just left for us to say thank you so much for your company this afternoon. We know it's a very busy time of day. That's it for you, isn't it? You're off on your Christmas holes.
I'm away now. See you in 2026. Good news, though, for farmers, and we wish them all the best for this Christmas.
Absolutely. And I'm with you on Christmas Day for breakfast, so don't forget to join me then. But have a lovely afternoon. Martin Daubney is up next. Thank you for watching. We'll see you soon.
Happy Christmas. Here's the weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again and welcome along to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It is dry for most for the rest of today, largely cloudy though with a few spots of drizzle here and there, and feeling colder, increasingly so as easterly winds arrive, those easterly winds coming in around the bottom of an area of high pressure which is forming to the northeast of the UK. The easterly winds making it feel cold as they set in across many southern and eastern parts of the UK. But we keep a lot of cloud, that cloud tending to lift through the night, so not quite as gloomy by the start of Christmas Eve. And there will be some cloud breaks developing, enough so to lead to a touch of frost across sheltered parts of the north and west of Scotland. But otherwise it's largely frost-free because of the breeze, because of the cloudier skies as we begin the day tomorrow, with the best of the sunshine across Scotland and the drizzly rain that we've seen across much of Scotland largely drying up by this stage. Northern Ireland, some cloud breaks, so some bright skies to begin things, and for much of England and Wales it's a brighter start compared with the last few mornings. Still areas of cloud around, but they are diminishing. We are seeing an increase in the sunshine as the day progresses. The cloud coming and going then, rather than sticking around throughout, and a decent chance of sunny spells coming through just about anywhere, although we do keep mostly cloudy skies around some North Sea coasts, and that's where it's going to feel coldest with this easterly wind strengthening through the day. Temperatures of 6 or 7 Celsius, but feeling more like 1 to 3 degrees. Nevertheless, it is a much brighter day compared with the last couple of days. Less cloud around, and we continue with that theme into Christmas Day itself. Plenty of sunshine, still a few patches of cloud here and there, but the key thing to note on Christmas Day is it's going to feel cold in the easterly wind.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
This Christmas Christmas, we're giving you the chance to win our biggest cash prize of the year. An incredible £85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours. And we've come to the fabulously festive Aurora Collection Resort here in Lapland to celebrate. £85,000 of tax-free cash really could be yours.
For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
It appears seem to need more time to do that.
They definitely do. I mean, I think this country is becoming so ageist, it's not true. We're all being taxed, and when you think of the years and years we've all paid taxes, and, now they're having another go at us. They're taxing our pensions and everything that we might have saved for that rainy day. Certainly, when crossing a road, it is, if you are, I've got a bad knee, you've got a bad knee over there. We have problems. You have a few problems, Eamon.
About everything.
Yeah, but when you get across the road, you're frightened. I'm frightened of falling, because I think that's one of the major things of old people. They're terrified. I've had 2 friends in the last fortnight fall very badly and they're in hospital. And then you suddenly get this beep, 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 beep on a crossing, and you panic a bit, and the cars are coming, and bicycles are suddenly there. It's all...
Are people generally not very patient then? Because if there's an old lady or an old man crossing the road in front of me, I'd always stop.
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And if you're in a wheelchair, they probably run you over more. I mean, it's a terrible situation.
I mean, it's not so much pedestrian crossings, right? It's the ones where it's lights. When Christopher quite right says about the beep 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 is so you have, and suddenly it says 10 seconds, 9 seconds.
The countdown's stressful.
Yeah,
and can imagine it would be stressful for elderly people.
trying to I have to trying to drag my leg across the road.
GB News, the People's Channel.
A really important thing about GB News, and it's brought something completely different to the landscape.
The mainstream is all about keeping the status quo as it is, ticking along quite nicely. They don't want to ask difficult questions.
GB News exists because there is a desperate need for fearless journalism that puts the people first.
GB News came on the scene as a disruptor, and it has always been a disruptor ever since.
Journalism in this country has been a cosy world full of groupthink until now.
Well, the reality is that most British journalists are afraid. That's not GB News.
Journalism is journalism at the end of the day, and we're not here to serve any masters. Our masters are our audience.
We're here to talk about things in a way that have never been broadcast on British Airways before.
Do not miss a moment on GB News.
The #1 news channel in the country.
Very, very good afternoon to you and a happy Christmas Eve. It's 3 p.m. and welcome to the Martin Daubney Show here on GB News, broadcasting live across the UK. All the very latest news, debate, analysis all the way through until 6 p.m. What a show we've got ahead for you. Here's what's on today's menu. Breaking news this afternoon. There's been a miracle at Christmas for British farmers. A Skeer Starmer